If I could ask you all to start to get to your seats. It's a couple minutes past 8:30, and we like to start on time and end on time, so I've already messed up the start on time part of it. Well, welcome to the Manatee Legislative Delegation. We're glad you all are here and look forward to hearing from you this morning. But before we get started, we have a couple things to do, and then a couple of housekeeping items as well, and then we'll begin with the important part of the program. So first, let's have a roll call. Amanda, did you do a roll call? Shouldn't be that hard.
Chair Boyd.
Here.
Representative Robinson.
Here.
Representative Gregory.
Here.
Senator Gruters.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum present, and we'd like to begin this morning with an invocation by Representative Gregory.
Please join me in prayer. Dear God, we thank you for the life, the gift of life that you've lavished upon all of us. We thank you for the blessings of another wonderful day here in Manatee County and the state of Florida. And as always, we pray that you share with us, continue to share in your love, your wisdom, and your guidance so that we can follow your word and your will, and it's in our hearts and in our minds and in our souls. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. And followed by a pledge of allegiance by Representative Robinson.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So first of all, let's do introduction. Each one of our delegation members, if you'd like to, starting with my friend, Senator Gruters, say, tell a little bit about yourself and your district.
Senator Joe Gruters. I represent all of Sarasota County and southern Manatee, and it's just a pleasure to be here, and you guys are all superstars. Thank you.
As you know, he swiped a little bit of my district last redistricting cycle, but we're glad to have you up here, Joe. Representative Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Will Robinson, House District 71. You're actually in House District 71. If you divide Manatee County into east and west portions, I pretty much represent the western portion. Excited to be here in the City of Bradenton Council Chambers, and I'm going into my 6th legislative session. So time flies, and we're having fun.
Representative Gregory.
Good morning, Tommy Gregory. I've got the right side of Manatee County in every way. It's good to be here. I can't believe it's year 6 already, and it's good to see everyone again, and we look forward to hearing what your concerns and requests are.
Thank you. And I'm Jim Boyd. I represent Senate District 20, which used to be all of Manatee County until Gruters got involved. But so I have north of State Road 70, all the way from Longboat Key, the Gulf of Mexico, out to the county line in the north, and then a sliver of eastern Hillsborough County. So it's a pleasure to represent this community and serve with these fine folks. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and I'll probably say it at the end of the meeting. We have an incredible legislative delegation. We are very effective. We are very productive in Tallahassee. Last year, it's incredible when you add up everything that these gentlemen and myself were able to bring back to our communities in terms of dollars and funding and projects. It was almost unbelievable. So we work hard for our communities, and it's a pleasure serving with you gentlemen, and it's a lot of fun as well. So thank you all very much. Next on the housekeeping item agenda, we have, this is my last year as chair. Don't break out the tissues, it'll be okay. Will Robinson, who is the vice chair, will move into the chair, but we need to, for the next 2 years, but we need to elect a vice chair for next year. So is there nominations?
I'll move Senator Gruters as our vice chair.
I'll second that.
Second, and before there's any discussion, I don't want to, good, is no discussion. Anybody want to say anything else about it? Great. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Yeah, any opposed? Which I couldn't imagine would happen. Congratulations.
Welcome to Manatee County, Senator Gruters.
And that happened without you being absent. I mean, you even showed up for that. Good job. Thank you. They'll be in good hands. Okay. With no further ado, we're going to move right into the agenda. And first, we have 2 local bills that we're going to discuss, and then we'll get into the reason that you all are all here. Some of you are here for local bills, of course, but then we'll get started on that. So, Representative Robinson, you are recognized. Are you doing the local bill? Who's doing it?
Oh, you want me to present this local bill?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we had someone.
I don't, Somebody else?
An
Somebody
attorney?
oh, come on up.
Yes,
Sorry.
don't scare me, Chairman.
Scare myself. Sorry about that.
I did not want to cut you all off. My name is Lindsay Whalen. I'm from the law firm of Q-Tech Rock, and I'm here on behalf of the North River Ranch Improvement Stewardship District. I will be brief since you all have a very long agenda ahead of you. But the district has requested that the legislature approve a boundary amendment, which requires a change to its enabling legislation. It plans to add about 122 acres for future development, as well as remove about 38 acres from its boundary. That's planned to be a school site. We are still working on the final legal description, just some minor tweaks here and there. We're talking about a couple feet, not, a significant change, which will be finalized prior to the filing of the bill. So that would bring the aggregate district acreage to about 2,100 acres, more or less. The Manatee County Commission has previously reviewed this matter and has issued a letter of no objection, which you should have in your packets in front of you. I'm happy to answer any questions, but otherwise, we would respectfully request that you approve the boundary amendment legislation.
Thank you for your presentation. Any questions? See no questions, is there a motion?
I move approval.
Is there a second? Second, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you for being here.
Mr.
Thanks for
Chair,
bailing us out, too.
Sure, do we have to take public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry, could we, thank you, Chairman. Let's rewind the tape a little bit. Is there any public comment on the issue? Okay, seeing none, we'll let the vote stand as it is. Thank you very much. Thanks, Will. Next, we have the town of Longboat Key. We'll get this one right. Maggie Mooney, welcome.
Good morning, everyone. I will be brief as well. Good morning. For purposes of the record, my name is Maggie Mooney. I'm the town attorney for the town of Longboat Key. Accompanying me is Howard Tipton, the town manager for the town of Longboat Key. Also in the audience is Mayor Ken Schneier. You'll be hearing from him in the regular agenda he'll be going over the town's legislative priorities for the year. Really briefly, Mr. Tipton and I are here today on behalf of the Town Commission to respectfully request the Manatee County Delegation support a local bill on behalf of the town that would protect and preserve and reaffirm the town's density referendum that is found in Article 2, Section 22 of the town's charter. This particular provision of the town's charter has been in place since 1985 when the town's residents embedded it into the charter and voted it in. The town's charter referendum provision requires that any new density in excess of the 1984 comprehensive plan within the town be subject to a vote of the people. The town was downzoned in the early 1980s, and this charter amendment became a critical part of the town's charter and has lived on for 40 years. It is a critical portion of the town that has been the foundation of the town's land use regulations, which were based upon a happy balance of tourism and residential properties within the community. The town is one of only 3 cities in the entire state of Florida that have a grandfathered referendum provision to allow for a land use referendum. The town has had this embedded grandfathered status, an exception to the prohibition on referendums, since 2012. In 2013, there was an amendment to the general law that allows for this limited exception. We got carved out for a year, and then Representatives Jim Boyd helped us advance some legislation to cure that and put us back in and under this exception for this grandfathered treatment. So if we're grandfathered, why are we here asking for this? Well, we are here asking for this because we are concerned that recent amendments to Florida law, as well as potential other legislation in the future, could leave and call this in question, or create a conflict in the law that we're going to have a difficult time navigating. So we are here today to respectfully request that the delegation help us preserve this very important critical element to the town, adopt and affirm the specific provision in our charter in a local bill so that we are not unintentionally preempted by some other conflicting legislation. This will have limited application. It will only apply within the town of Longboat Key. It will not undo any general law, and we would just respectfully request your support on this local bill. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
I actually do. Ms. Maggie Mooney, Is this in response to the Live Local Act that was passed by the legislature?
Certainly, Live Local Act has created some questions in our mind with respect to its interplay with 163.3167, which has our referendum provision preserved. This would not undo Live Local. It would not. It would just it would ensure that our referendum provision is still in play during Live Local.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And remind me, I'm not a land use lawyer, pretend every now and then. The act required certain density increases if you could, I believe, have up to 40% or more affordable housing on that specific parcel. So I'm just wondering, is this a real concern? I mean, are properties in Longboat Key, you think, susceptible to this type of change in our law, or is this something that could be addressed down the road?
No, I think well, as somebody who practices in land use, I think the Live Local is applicable to specified zoning districts, specifically industrial, commercial, and multifamily. If you're asking if the town of Longboat Key has those, yes, they do. They don't have industrial, but we certainly have commercial and multifamily.
I just want to make sure I understand the act, though, correctly. So you would still, the developer would still have to come in and say, I have to have at least 40% of those units to be affordable housing to qualify, and then to have the issues that Longboat Key would have. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, but they submit their application and they get automatically, they avoid a public hearing and they automatically get special treatment,
Great.
which is, certainly needed in Florida. Certainly we understand and recognize the need for affordable housing in Florida.
Thank you. I just want to make sure I understood
Yes.
kind of what the issue is. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions? Any public comment? Excuse me. Thank you for being here. And I spoke with Ms. Mooney ahead of the meeting. So just to put this thing in kind of context so everybody knows where we are. We're not going to vote on it today, but don't get nervous about that. We can have a meeting, a delegation. Since we presented the bill, we've had a chance for questions, answers. We've also had a chance for public comment. We can take it up in Tallahassee in a delegation meeting. And I told Ms. Mooney, and I don't want to outrun my headlights on this, but I've been working with the Senate President and staff, and there might be, and most likely will be, a bill that we'll put together, and hopefully our friends in the House will embrace it, that fixes some of these issues that were unintentionally created vis-a-vis the Live Local Act. So if that doesn't happen, then there's, I think, pretty strong interest in making sure we've fixed the problem. Longboat Key is not the only one. There's several other similar communities around the state that are facing this issue. So one way or other, I'm pretty confident we'll get it fixed, but if you'll be patient with us, we're going to try to work through the steps and maybe make it easy on everybody. But we'll stay in touch, and you're certainly welcome to ask us questions along the way. But we are on top of it, and we'll make sure we try to get it across the finish line before the end of session.
Thank you. We appreciate your consideration on
Okay.
behalf of the town manager and the mayor.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, we love Longboat Key. You guys have a great community, and thanks for what you're doing.
Thank you.
So we will table this for now and bring it up at a later date. Okay, we're going to move into the local issues, but before I do, I failed to thank the city of Bradenton at the outset for hosting us again. Rob, I know you're here on behalf of the mayor. We have two of the council women here. Thank you for being here. Where's the third one?
Lisa Moore.
Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, I missed you. Oh, there you are, right next to Rob. Pardon me. I'm sorry about that. But thank you all for being here. More importantly, thanks for hosting us. It's a great spot for us, and we really appreciate your hospitality. So thank you. All right. No further ado. And these we put on the agenda kind of in the order that we got them, so there's no favoritism here. And we have 3 minutes apiece. We do have a timekeeper, and in order to keep things moving and get out by the time that we've announced we will be out, we have to stick to that. So when you hear the bell, please wrap it up or have wrapped it up at that point. And then at the end of the meeting, we also have time for public comment. So if you have signed a card that didn't register for the agenda but signed a card to speak, that will be at the end of the presentation. So first up, we have Manatee County Government Commission Chairman Kevin Van Ostenbridge. Good morning, sir. Welcome.
Morning. Thank you, sir. Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the delegation. I come to you with a theme for Manatee County government
of transportation infrastructure. It's been our theme for the past several years, and that continues still today. I think we're all familiar with Fort Hamer, built as a 2-lane bridge and a 2-lane road, and the county has started moving forward with, we've funded and fully designed, and you know, we're going to be turning dirt hopefully over the summer at Upper Manatee River Road from 64 to Fort Hamer Bridge. We're going to be 4-laning that at our own expense. What we're looking for is, every request I have that's a financial request is $10 million. We kept it simple for you so you can remember. We're the $10 million requester. Yeah, so we're looking for $10 million to help us fund the additional Fort Hamer Bridge, which will, the current bridge cannot be expanded, so we have to build a second bridge next to it. We're looking for $10 million in support for that. And then we will be 4-laning Fort Hamer Road from the bridge, from the river, north up to 301, and we're requesting $10 million in assistance for that. It's a regional project, right? It's an I-75 reliever. We see direct state benefit in this, and we see regional benefit from Sarasota all the way to Hillsborough County. Moccasin Wallow is number 2. It's an evacuation route. It will help relieve I-75 as well. We're looking for, we're very appreciative, first of all, of the monies that we have received for this project leading up to this point. We received millions and millions of dollars for phases 1 and 2, and now as we move on into phase 3, we're looking for a $10 million assistance from you all to help us with Moccasin Wallow. Right-of-way acquisition is complete. We're going to start turning dirt on these phases sooner than later. Then we move on to 44th Avenue, another state benefit here. So 44th Avenue runs for ultimately from Bradenton Beach all the way, when it's complete, we'll go all the way to 675 at the edge of Myakka. And it directly benefits the state in that it relieves State Road 64 and State Road 70. We're looking for $10 million in support for 44th Avenue. We were waiting on our steel girders to show up for the overpass that takes you over I-75 is $2.7 million just for the steel girders. And so any support that we can receive from the state is very much appreciated. And then lastly, the I have 2 more. Live Local Act. We understand the importance of having a place to go home. What we're looking for with Live Local is for you to include a tax reduction. None of us like taxes. And so we're looking for a tax reduction for landlords who offer affordable housing opportunities. We think this will help with homelessness and help provide long-term sustainable housing for people and keep them off of government assistance programs. We'd rather reduce taxes than create programs that sort of go on forever. We'd rather tax cuts last forever. And we think ultimately reducing homelessness is a major savings to taxpayers. And then lastly, foster care. It's something that we've come to you about year after year. We're going to get a little specific this time and ask for some pay scale adjustments for attorneys working in the child welfare system, whether it's guardian ad litem or children's legal services. We think this will help attract and retain talent. Right now they're making starting out at just under $50,000 a year for an attorney, and of course most of them have an awful lot of student debt to pay off, and it's hard to survive in this town under $50,000 at this point. And if we're going to attract and retain people that are looking after our kids, remember, foster children are wards of the state. They are our responsibility. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Perfect timing. Any questions? Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate your presentation, and we will work with you on those issues to the best of our ability. Next up, City of Bradenton. Mr. Rob Perry, the Administrator, and I think we have Vice Mayor Coker alongside.
Morning.
Welcome.
Mr. Chairman, Representatives, Senators, thank you so much for coming to Bradenton. But I could take my whole 3 minutes and thank you for what you do the rest of the year in supporting us down here. Each and every year, last year in particular, we did quite well. And we want to say thank you. We know that that's the work of a long period of time. When we get with you, you're always responsive during session, outside of session, and the like, and the investment into Bradenton. On behalf of the Mayor and the City Council, our requests for funding and appropriations are particularly regional, and they're with core subjects of public safety. So I'd like to start with the first one, which is a request for about $224,000 to support our $30 million police station, new police station that we're building at 6th and 1st with real-time crime center technology. This is an ability to use basically video surveillance camera systems integrated into other platforms and be able to get intelligence information where we can do both predictive analysis as well as responsive analysis, where police officers and public safety officials responding to crime scenes will have much more information on the scene they're going to. Calls for service, weapons, past criminal histories, identifications of vehicles and the like. That's the world of technology we're moving into policing. And in order to have a great Florida, we have to have a safe Florida, and we believe that public safety and policing is important, particularly in this urban area. Next is also a public safety request, which is for our new fire station, Fire Station 2, on the east side, State Road 64, and we have to have rapid deployment, response, and turnout. Being on State Road 64, we need traffic signals for emergency traffic entering from and to the fire station for emergency calls. Emergency signalization is very expensive because it's on a state road. It's about $300,000 per mast. So out of the $8 million project, $600,000 is required to enter that state road, leave that state road, and protect it from pedestrian traffic safety. Lastly, as you know, and we appreciate all the support you gave us last year on a bill that was vetoed, but we had $1.4 million for our emergency response forward operating platform out at the old Red Cross building. And we're building that out, about $3.7 million. We're asking for support for a generator system for that, for emergency power. It provides regional support. It helps both the city, the county, the state in their emergency response. We moved then into our largest request, which is 3 directional roundabouts that mitigate traffic on the state roads. The Southern Parkway, the East Side, and Central, the Central City has a series of local arterials that people use as bypass and cut through, so they don't have to be on Manatee or Cortez Road and the like. We'd like to build out a series of 3 directional roundabouts to improve traffic safety, pedestrian safety, efficiency, less travel time, less travel on the roads and the like. Continuing on with resiliency, we have a request for stormwater in a particularly underserved low-income area on 25th Ave and 22nd Street West. And it's a 75-year-old roadway that needs to be rebuilt so that we are able to evacuate stormwater into our conveyance and into our outflows ultimately. The last 2 are basically regarding inflow as it relates to infiltration into our sewage collection system in the city. And as you know, many coastal communities have this problem. We're requesting a $500,000 to $500 local match for manhole lining of a series of manhole systems. We've put over $10 million into this initiative ourselves since 2017, and sanitary pipelining as well, again with that $10 million figure. So what we're trying to do is hit public safety, public health, transportation, and the like. We got a lot of things going on. We appreciate your support in the city.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor, I mean, you are hosting us. Did you have anything you wanted to add, or? I know the time clock, but we'll give you a little.
Oh, no, I mean, we just appreciate all that you do for us. You've taken good care of us. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for your
You can ask
partnership.
the Vice Mayor. That's probably the only time I've actually finished short of my time allocation.
I mean, it was like right on the line, Rob. The bell was ringing. Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you very much. Yes, sir. Next up, we have Town of Longboat Key, Mayor Ken Schneier. Mayor, welcome.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Again, Ken Schneier, Mayor of Longboat Key still. Once again, we thank you for the opportunity to share our wish list for the upcoming season. And I would like to thank you at the start for considering our local bill that Ms. Mooney presented. Specific to Longboat, our principal needs for financing are threefold. First, assistance to finance the construction of a redundant wastewater line under Sarasota Bay to avoid a more serious recurrence of the 2020 leak, which thankfully occurred on land. Construction costs are skyrocketing, but we hope to break ground on this important project by 2025. Second, assistance to limit the impact of sea level rise in our low-lying neighborhoods. Even before Idalia hit, high tides entered more than 80 structures on Longboat, many of them homes, doing substantial damage. We've committed to projects to begin to mitigate the effects of tides and storms in 3 of our flood-prone neighborhoods, but those costs are escalating as well. It's not lost on us, by the way, on the barrier islands that elevation of structures is a key mitigation strategy, but that too is expensive. So any program that might help owners to fund or finance elevation projects from the state would be welcome and constructive as well. Third, we've designed a complete streets plan for Gulf of Mexico Drive to improve traffic flow, pedestrian bicycle opportunities. This project, too, has been years in the making, is overdue, and will complete necessary updating of the critical pathway from South Longboat all the way to the north end of Anna Maria Island. We ask your support for these measures. As for policy matters, Number one, please follow up on your great start, and thank you, Senator Boyd, in particular, in attempting to revive the Florida insurance market and make it affordable again. Please continue your good work on water quality and beach renourishment. And please resist the temptation to absorb to Tallahassee decisions best made by local government, especially as regards land use. Home rule does consist of 2 four-letter words, but they're not the bad ones. Finally, as for bills thankfully defeated last year, may they continue to rest in peace. Expanding sovereign immunity, limits for local governments is one, reducing land use permit response deadlines and related fees to punish what we consider to be a few bad actors, and restricting single vendor waste haulage contracts for municipalities. Each of these measures would hurt local governments in our pocketbooks, just as costs for all we do increase. Thank you again for your consideration and for your service.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions? Appreciate you being here and look forward to working with you all this session.
My pleasure. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Thank you. Next up, we have Mayor Shirley Bryant from the city of Palmetto, my hometown. Raised me. You can argue with the mayor if you didn't like the way they raised me, but
Actually, you were even a mayor there.
briefly.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here, Mayor.
Thank you all. We really appreciate your responsiveness to us and what you do for us in Tallahassee. I come before you today because our issues are monumental in the sense of maintaining a good environment, a clean environment, and I know you've had our list of asks already distributed to you, so I'll try to summarize them a little bit. 3 of our requests are relative to water quality, sewer, infrastructure, aged lines, and water conservation. You may not know this, but 90% of Palmetto has reuse water available. We are the only wastewater treatment plant that is an advanced wastewater treatment plant. I think my city clerk is going to give you a postcard of one of our projects. We always put conservation, environment first in all of our projects. This is a project that went from a brownfield to a park that actually cleans about 70 acres to the north of stormwater before it goes into Manatee River. That's primary for us. 2 of our requests are for road improvements to eliminate congestion, and 1 is actually to open up the corridor on 7th Street. You'll probably be the most familiar with that, Senator Boyd. But at any rate, to open up to the new hotel and also to the roughly $50 million investment that Manatee County is making in the convention center. 1 is replacing the infrastructure of an area of low to moderate income homes, and it's already designed and ready to go. We need some funding to help us put that together, but in all cases, our funding requests were chosen specifically to improve as many lives as possible. We all on all of the projects, we have matching funds. And if we can get your assistance and help put those together, we can make Palmetto an even nicer town, and we can improve the quality of life of a lot of people in the city. So we appreciate your consideration, and as always, my staff and I are always available to go over them in more detail should you require that. So
Thank you.
I talk fast for a Southern girl, don't I?
That was pretty good. Actually, the bill hasn't even sounded yet. So any questions of the mayor? I got to tell you, Mayor, kudos for the hotel and what's going on the Civic Center property. I remember when I was on the city council in the late 80s, early 90s, probably before Representative Robinson was born, we tried to get a hotel over there, and it just, we worked and worked and worked, and it just never came to fruition. So that's going to be a great addition for the Civic Center, but also as important as it is for the city of Palmetto. So thank you for the hard work on that.
I think it's going to be something that's going to be a tremendous asset with a lot of the things that are going on at Lakewood Ranch, and there's going to be a great need for that facility, and it's fabulous. And I'm sure if anybody wants to go up the elevator and see the view, that can certainly be arranged. So just give me a call and I'll set it up.
Yeah, if you haven't had a chance to get over there and look at it, it's worth going to see. So thank you for that offer.
And also, if you haven't toured our new police department. I know that Mr. Perry mentioned about state-of-the-art. Ours is truly state-of-the-art. We've just really gotten the doors open good. So if you'd like to have a tour by our chief, please let us know. We'd love to arrange that.
Thank you.
So thank you, and thank you for all you do.
Thanks for being here. Next up, we have Manatee County Clerk of the Courts, Ms. Angel Colanessa. Welcome, Clerk. Good morning.
Good morning to our members of the delegation. We, as clerks statewide, appreciate the partnership of the legislature in helping come to our funding solutions that we have to provide critical services to the courts, to our constituents that support the courts. And this year, we will be asking, we want to also thank Senator Boyd for your partnership in 21, and Representative Chuck Clemens and Representative Botana for last year. These incremental building blocks, if you will, each year help us get to the funding we need for the level of funding. This year, we will be seeking $67.4 million statewide, and the three items are to fix the glitch from last year's bill on the issuance of summonses to include both circuit and county. I believe one was dropped off last year, but that we are seeking that glitch. And then continue to diversify clerk funding through statutory redirects of certain revenues to certain court services, and also to continue the state reimbursement process for certain public service and approve civil indigency cases where fees are currently waived. And this year, we're also seeking a Chapter 119 change to allow for certain personnel's identifying information to be redacted if requested. We're finding an uptick in that statewide. So that is what we are seeking. I appreciate you giving me the time today to speak to you about our funding issues.
Representative Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And since I no longer represent Sarasota County, I can say this: we have the best clerk in the state. We really do. And I just want to thank you and your fellow clerks for working with me on the deed fraud bill that became law. And actually, you were doing this well before the law was passed, and the people in the audience don't know this. The Manatee clerk, and now it'll be law across the state of Florida, can send you all an alert if something happens with regard to your property or a mortgage or a deed is recorded. You can get an email from the clerk's office, and I think that's one thing that Floridians are having to deal with. That's a big problem, is deed fraud. And so thank you for working with me and getting that passed unanimously. It's tough to get anything passed, but much less unanimously. So thank you to you and your fellow clerks on getting that through and implementing that process well ahead of the legislation.
Thank you.
To add on to Representative Robinson's comments, in that we have the best clerk in the state. You just finished your term as president of
I've been 2 years out now.
2 years out, but her colleagues recognized her as a leader, and she was president of the whole Clerks Association for the state of Florida. So I think that speaks to your leadership and your abilities as well. So we are glad you're our clerk.
Thank
Any
you.
other? You don't want to like add any?
I'll also
You may
add
need her
on.
one day, Tommy.
I already do, and you know how much we appreciate your work. And I mean, you can't possibly, she would have to be up here for 2 hours to talk about everything the clerk does in Manatee County. But I just want to observe one part of it. There's something that we need to do. We need to continue to address funding for the clerk's office. And just by way of example, in my other life, when I'm not a representative, I'm a practicing litigation attorney defending corporate lawsuits. But just by way of example, I just finished a trial that lasted 10 days after 6 years of litigation. And to give you a concept for the cost, for the person that filed that lawsuit, I was on the defense side, but it doesn't really matter. The cost to file that lawsuit is under $1,000, well under. And just think about the court resources that get expended when the parties are litigating for 6 years and everything the clerk has to do. We've got to find a way in Tallahassee to address that model. Frankly, I think we're going to have to raise fees for parties to file lawsuits because they need to pay their own way. They're using the court system, and we're going to have to do something to address that. But we appreciate everything you do in that area and everything else you do, Angel.
Thank you, and I appreciate all of you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Next up, Manatee County School District Chairman Chad Choate. Chairman, welcome.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you to the other delegates for allowing us to come in and present to you all. I'm here today as well from the school district is Mary Foreman, school board member, District 3, and Kevin Chapman. And I know we sent our priorities and appropriation asked to you earlier. So I'm going to take my time to really, and each one of us will reach out to you all to be able to talk further on our priorities. But I want to take the couple minutes that I have here to discuss what we believe is going to be something very life-changing for not only our teen students, but even adult students in Manatee County and even Sarasota County and hopefully the whole southwest of Florida. And that's something that we're going to be calling the Southwest Launch Center. And so this is a matching project. It's an expansion to our MTC campus on State Road 70 and near I-75. We have $8 million set aside for the project of total $16 million. So we're asking for $8 million in those matching funds. And this launch center is really came about from adult education, the influx of adult education in our community for adults after high school that are now coming back, maybe moved into the area, didn't finish high school, getting their GEDs. A lot of English language learners taking English and learning English for the first time. And so the need for that space is how this originally came up in the district several years ago. With your help, we've done a lot of innovative things in this district between Guy Harvey Academy for the first one in the state, which we thank you all for that. And then a couple years ago as well, getting appropriations for the A&P school, the aviation mechanics school that the MTC is going to do. And we believe this is just another innovative thing that we can provide for our students here in Manatee County. And so the Launch Center is going to be a place of collaboration where businesses can come together with the workforce, potential workforce, which are going to be those students, adults, and late teen students that are going to hopefully potentially be their workforce and their employees. The state actually just rolled out several months ago a program called Get There Florida. And when I say the state, the Department of Education. And Governor DeSantis is one of his education pushes was career readiness and workforce initiatives and during his last campaign. And this goes right along with that push and with that ask. And so the Get There Florida is Florida's workforce education initiative from the Department of Education that we believe this space is going to really connect with that mission and hopefully be the first one. After this meeting, my next call is going to be the Commissioner of Education and say, look, let us be the flagship. Let us be the area that we are really taking a step forward in workforce initiative and preparing our kids. One of the big projects that we see happening here is pre-apprenticeship programs. Pre-apprenticeship is for high school students that they want to go get a technical education or have some kind of technical field in the future. They can become a pre-apprenticeship in a program with a manufacturing, construction, etc. We're going to partner with the Manatee Chamber of Commerce, Career Source, Suncoast, the EDC, to be able to provide these programs for our students in this space. And so we look forward for a really collaborative kind of incubator of a place where businesses can come and present to our students, and hopefully this workforce initiative takes up and root there because we need it. We know you go talk to business owners, we need workforce. We need people to come in and be skilled workers, especially in the technical field. So we look forward to your support here and any questions. I'm sure we'll be other board members will be on your emails and in your schedule. So we really appreciate the support, obviously in years past and this one moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Any questions? I just want to say thank you for your leadership, the board. It's really exciting what y'all are doing. A lot of new concepts, a lot of new ideas, and we really appreciate y'all's leadership and really, most importantly, serving our kids and their education. So kudos to you and your board for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate
and tell Commissioner Diaz, Boyd and the delegation said they better listen to you.
Okay.
We know where he lives.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thanks for being here. Next up, we have City of Holmes Beach, Commissioner Terry Schaefer. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning again, gentlemen. I thank you and appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning to address you personally. As you've stated, Chair, my name is Terry Schaefer, and I serve as the Vice Chair of the Holmes Beach City Commission. We have submitted our list previously to you of 7 legislative priorities for 2024. They include home rule, vacation rentals, water and air quality issues, local government revenue, tourist development revenue allocation, plastics reduction, and consideration of strengthening of our mangrove trimming and enforcement regulations throughout the state, which we know has been somewhat of a concern locally over the past couple of years. I choose this morning, though, to highlight our first and we feel most important issue, and that is of home rule, without which all other of our priorities, and I believe most others throughout the state, would pale without the protection of home rule. Over the past 3 years, since 2021 through 2023, over 81 bills have been passed by the legislature that have critically diluted home rule. We are encouraged by the progress and sincere discussions that are occurring with leadership between yourselves and our 3 island mayors. We hope to produce the best outcome for island residents, visitors, and stakeholders, and appreciate the opportunity to work with you in earnest. Home rule is the bedrock of civil discourse and governance, and we subscribe to the belief that all politics are local. We are hopeful that a member or members of the delegation will consider our 7 priorities and support one, if not all, of these in your upcoming discussions on priorities. We look forward to support on these priorities as they represent the vital and important issues desired by our community and the state, we believe, in general. Furthermore, I respectfully request that each of you individually consider the constitutional right of home rule as it applies to each and every bill that you will be considering during the upcoming legislative session, and ask that you focus on how the application of home rule would apply to the communities that are affected. Home rule remains the primary right of Florida citizens since 1973, when it was adopted by our legislature. Self-government is not a gift from the legislature, but is the will of the people. And I thank you, sir, for your leadership and the opportunities to continue working with you and other members of the delegation for the betterment of our region.
Thanks for being here, sir. Any questions? I just want to say one thing. Believe it or not, because just about every municipality that comes before us every year talks about home rule. And I speak for myself, I'm not speaking for the delegation. I support home rule, believe it or not. Where I don't support home rule is where government starts to trample on the property rights of individuals and their investments, which is in many cases the largest investment they'll ever have in their life. So we're kind of in concert until that occurs. And I've had several, as you've mentioned, we've had, since I've been in the legislature, a number of occurrences where we have taken action. But that's, in my opinion, for this senator, that's the only time I really engage is when I feel that's happening. But I appreciate what you said, and we will take it to heart, and we'll do our best to serve our communities.
Thank you for your comments, and I don't disagree with you at all on
Thank
that
you, sir.
clarification of
Okay,
home rule.
awesome. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. Okay, next up, Minnesota League of Cities, Councilman Lisa Gonzalez Moore. See, I was going to recognize you individually. That's why I didn't clump you in with the Vice Mayor and Councilwoman Barnaby. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. I just first want to start, it's a pleasure to come before you on behalf of Minnesota League of Cities, but before I dive into that, I do want to emphasize what Mr. Perry presented on behalf of the city of Bradenton. I think it really highlights the beauty that can happen, the magic that happens when we've got our state delegation and our local community leaders, our municipal leaders working together in concert, and how we can both come together and those roles being separate but also important, for the best of our communities and our shared constituents. You have the materials before you regarding the league's priorities, and so I don't have to go through them line by line. They are very similar to last year. But I do want to offer instead your municipal leaders service, as I said before, for the communities that we both serve. We are your boots on the ground. We desire to help. We are your constituents, all of us here, neighbors and colleagues, and we want to work with you to improve the lives and the livelihood of our shared constituents. To the specific issues before you, I note that while these issues are complex and interrelated, you have made great progress in previous sessions in regard to insurance and affordable housing, and I commend you for that. I challenge you, though, however, to keep moving forward and ride the momentum that you've created as regard to those two issues, and acknowledge that the work is not yet complete, and you do have that task before you. As to quality of life and environmental issues, I concede that task before you could be daunting. But I trust that each of you has the courage of conviction to tackle the work that needs to be done in the best interest of our communities. Let's keep our long game in mind as you move forward into your next session. And again, your local municipal leaders stand ready to assist in any way we can. I hope that we can all, in particular me, I think many of you know how fond I am of coffee and stealing any amount of time I can get with any of you, so that hopefully we can be of service so that we can work towards our collective whole. And I'm happy to answer any questions or.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any questions? You must have covered it all. Thank you for being here.
Great, thank
Look
you.
forward to working with you.
Thank you again.
Next up, State College of Florida, Dr. Carol Probstfeld. Good morning, Doctor. You are welcome and recognized.
Good morning. Mr. Chair, delegation members, thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak with you. First, I'd like to say I am deeply grateful for your support in the last year with operational funding, the first $9 million for our parish campus, and the non-recurring funding to support performance in nursing programs so we could expand our nursing programs for our community. Thank you very much. We've met with all of you already to talk about what our priorities are for this next year, so I won't go into great detail. Just to let you know that each of the priorities continues to help our college, State College of Florida, be the region's first choice for innovative, responsive, quality education, workforce training, and community partnership. We're proud of our tradition of excellence and demonstrated ability to be responsive, flexible, and efficient, all while being one of the most productive Florida college system institutions in degrees awarded for the recurring state funding we receive. In 2022, SCF produced 2,100 degree graduates. As we work together this next session to represent SCF, our students in the region, I ask that you support our request to continue funding our parish campus construction and to obtain comparable funding for our very deserving students. Our students represent Florida's best with 100% passage rates on licensure exams on their first attempt. 97% are employed in the field or continuing their education following graduating with an associate's degree in science. And more than 30,000 alums remain local and contribute more than $300 million to our local economy every year. And one of my favorites, our Brain Bowl team has been to the national championship 3 times in the last decade, won the championship once, and are looking forward to going back this year. And if you're not familiar with Brain Bowl, it's like Jeopardy on steroids that you play as a team. I'm very fortunate to be able to accompany the team when they go to the championship, and it's a humbling experience. Occasionally, I know the answer to a history question because I'm old enough to have been alive when it actually happened. These are just a few of our points of pride at the State College of Florida. And again, I thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk to you about my favorite subject, the State College of Florida. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Doctor. Any questions? Yes, sir, Joe.
I just read recently that you're retiring, and I just wanted to say thank you for your steady hand and leadership and everything you've done for our community.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would, well, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I mean, you have continued to be one of the most impressive organizations, and you personally, your leadership at SCF, from my exposure in the legislature from the first time I met you, everything that you've done. I'd love to give you an opportunity to talk more about, just one more example. I could go on and on about nursing and your vision for parish and and all of that. But I think that your response at SCF when Florida's economy needed people during COVID and afterwards to train truckers, for example, and the things that SCF did, if you want to give her more time, I'd love to hear about that. And again, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Representative Robinson.
I think the chairman and I, maybe Senator Gruters remembers Manatee Junior College and where it's come since then. And a lot of that has transpired under your leadership. I think it was no coincidence that we had a huge announcement with the governor at your college. We've had our Tampa Bay legislative delegation meetings at your college because it's just such an enormous institution, not only for our area, but for our state. So congratulations. Enjoy retirement. We're kind of sad that we're losing you, but I'm sure you're not going to be too far away.
Yeah, and I would just echo the comments of my colleagues. You came into that position absolutely the right person at absolutely the perfect time. You know, we'd had some challenges at the college before your leadership took over, and I can't tell you how much this community and myself as well appreciate what you've done. We will miss you, but we certainly understand the reason that you're deciding to step back a little bit and enjoy your life, and I applaud that. But we will miss you, and you have just done an incredible job at our state college. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. You don't do anything alone, and I appreciate all the support that you've given me throughout the years, and I will always consider myself the very luckiest one to have had the opportunity to lead this institution.
Thank you, Madam President. Next up, University of South Florida, Dr. Karen Holbrook. Welcome, Dr. Holbrook. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you very much. So
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Senator Boyd and representatives. USF thanks you for your continued support of our institution, and we want to share a few highlights of our campus, Sarasota Manatee. First, thank you, Senator Boyd and Representative Robinson, for your continued leadership in securing the necessary state funding for the planning, design, and construction of a nursing STEM building, which is our absolute top priority. This is a new academic facility that will allow us to teach local students in state-of-the-art labs to fulfill the workforce needs for high-demand jobs in our region. It is predicted that there are 59,000 nurses needed in the state of Florida. Our building can help that a bit. It's also predicted that there are 2.5 million STEM jobs that are needed in our country by 2030. And again, this is what our building is designed for, including a new program in engineering that includes aerospace engineering and a partnership with the airport and with the Manatee schools. So in addition to critical state funding that you have appropriated for us, we have also received $2 million in federal support toward the design of the nursing STEM building. And we are going for philanthropic support as well. And this year's Brunch on the Bay is going to be dedicated to raising funds for our nursing STEM building, but also to meet needs of our fast-growing community. With continued support of the university and the Board of Governors, we're building a new student center and residence hall, which if you are on the water, you can see towers over everything. If you're on Highway 41, you can see towers over everything. The building is just about, it's not about complete, but it is becoming completed, and you can see the whole outside of the building now. And it's breathtaking for us on a one building campus, so it's absolutely fabulous. And this is really going to change the nature of our campus entirely for our local students, out-of-state students, and international students as well. But buildings aren't the only thing. We continue to expand our programs through the University of South Florida overall for our students, and to focus on programs of community need and opportunities. We're committed to the entire Tampa Bay region. Let me see if I can find the next page. For Tampa Bay region as a major research institution and economic engine. You probably have seen many times that USF was invited to join the American Association of Universities, the AAU, which includes only the top 71 universities in the nation out of about 3,500 research universities. So this was based on our student success in our research portfolio, and it is only the second state university in Florida to be invited into the AAU, and it's the only one in the last 40 years for the state of Florida. So we're very excited about this prestigious invitation. So together we are working to grow relevant programs of higher education for this community particularly, and ensure the future success of the region and the state of Florida. Again, we thank you so much for your support that has been ongoing for so long, and really look forward to another very productive legislative session. So thank you very much.
Terrific. Questions? Thank you for the presentation. I know we fell a little short on a couple of things that were important to us last year, but we're committed to trying them again this year. So
good. Thank you so much.
We'll be working with you on those.
We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for being here. Next up, New College of Florida, newly minted President Richard Corcoran. Welcome.
Thank you, members. I'll be fairly quick, I hope. But just want to say thank you. Last year, you guys gave us $50 million, $10 million in PICO projects, $30 million in non-recurring, $10 million in recurring. So it was just an amazing year. What we've done with that is, for the first time in the history of New College, we have record enrollment for new students. We went over 300, never been close in a 63-year history. We added sports programs and was announced just last week. A process that normally takes 2 years. We got into the NAIA in 6 months, and we're full members of the NAIA, starting all the sports programs. We've taken our deferred maintenance. The campus was a little bit run down. We've taken our deferred maintenance from about $60 million down to about $30 million. We've given out millions more in scholarships. We've added new food services, just basically transformed the whole campus with that money, and it wouldn't have been possible without the legislature and the governor's support, so we want to thank you for that. And I'll just close with, and by the way, so you gave us $50 million. I just want to be very clear. This year in this legislative session, we're not going to ask for a penny more than that.
That's very nice of you.
Thank you, thank you. But I just want to, just a quick close is the value of New College, the value of liberal arts, and I'll get you more documentation on this, but what's happened, people always say, what are the greatest threat to our country? It's the Chinese, it's Russia, it's radical jihadism. The greatest threat to our country is from within, and that is if we do not get education right, if we do not educate our students from birth all the way through college, and as you've heard from the previous speakers, we'll cease to exist. It's just that simple, and you're seeing it play itself out right now. If you went back 50 years and said, okay, let me see how we're educating our youth, you could have predicted the 2020s. And I just think the point is what's the value of an education? What's the purpose of an education? I always quote Frederick Douglass. He says, education is the uplifting of the human soul to the glorious light of truth. And if you deny somebody that kind of an education, if you deny them that opportunity, it should be a crime against humanity, because what you're robbing them of is human dignity. And the point of education is to create a great citizen, a great person, a great spouse, a great community leader, people that fill this room. It is not to get a job. That's a byproduct of a great education. And if you raise up a great student who's humble and they're willing to work hard and they have that education, they will always be employed. They always will be, and they'll be great community leaders. It's that education that teaches you to think outside of the box, to synthesize large volumes of information, be a great decision maker. And if you look at, if I went through the legislature, I went through the Board of Governors, I went through the Fortune 500 companies, I went through the people who score the highest on the MCAT, the LSAT, the GMAT, you will find that the overwhelming majority in every single case has somebody with a liberal arts degree. Liberal arts degrees teach you something that is intangible, and they become the leaders, they become the CEOs in America, and that education, that destination can be New College, and will be New College with your support. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Any questions? I just want to say personally, I'm thrilled you're there. President Corcoran and I came into the legislature in 2010 together. Immediately he demonstrated himself as a leader, and we picked him. Some of us took a little longer than others, but we picked him as our speaker. And beside being brilliant, one thing that stands out with Richard Corcoran with me is he has a passion for education. That's demonstrated by his work in the legislature and now excuse me, by what you're doing. So thrilled you're there. Welcome, and let us know how we can help. And 50 million probably is not too steep an ask, I don't think. Right, Joe?
That's great news.
Joe, hey, Joe will be on it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good to see you all.
Thanks for being here. Next up, Doug and Michelle Hall, Alzheimer's Association. Think I saw them come in. There they are. Welcome. Last time I saw you was at Duffy's.
Good morning, distinguished members of the Manatee Legislative Delegation. We appreciate the opportunity to address you today. I'm here with Michelle Hall, who's my wife. She's 56, and she's one of the many faces of Alzheimer's. Florida has the second highest number of people living with Alzheimer's in this country. Over 580,000 Floridians are living with Alzheimer's disease. This includes 13,600 people here in Manatee County, which equates to over 11.5% of our population. I know many of you have been touched by the realities of Alzheimer's and dementia. We are proud to advocate alongside the Alzheimer's Association. With your support, we remain relentlessly optimistic as we propose our 2024 legislative priorities. First, it is imperative we educate our community about the early warning signs of Alzheimer's and the importance of brain health. We need to raise awareness of what to look for and when to go to a doctor. We're advocating for funding for public health awareness campaign that utilizes multiple media platforms and focuses on those from underserved communities. Second, the legislature recently created a Persons with Disabilities Registry for use by law enforcement. This is a great first step, and we want to ensure that law enforcement has the resources they need to understand how best to work with individuals living with Alzheimer's and related dementia. Throughout the dementia journey, 6 out of 10 individuals living with dementia will wander at least once. That is why we're advocating for dementia training to be available for law enforcement as a complement to last year's legislation. Finally, we ask the legislature to continue supporting the funding of critical programs for those in need. This includes the Alzheimer's Association Brain Bus, the Alzheimer's Disease Initiative, and the Ed and Ethel Moore Research Program. On behalf of the Alzheimer's Association and the over 500,000 Floridians living with this disease, including Michelle, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. We'll see each of you in Tallahassee, February 13th and 14th for annual advocacy days. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? Representative Robinson?
Not a question, but a comment, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Michelle and Doug, for your courage. You're everywhere. You're in front of delegations. You're in Tallahassee. You're in Washington, D.C. I believe there's an Alzheimer's walk coming up that I hope to join. And I don't know if it's October 28th. Yep. At where is it?
At the Rowing Center.
Rowing Center. And I don't think it's any coincidence you're wearing purple. We always talk about this in the legislature. Republicans wear red and Democrats wear blue. The combination of those two is purple. This is the ultimate bipartisan issue. I think we have a bill almost every year, and a Republican and a Democrat both co-sponsor those bills. And I don't think I've ever seen one of those bills be voted down by anyone. It's such an important issue to all of us in Florida, and certainly everyone. I will speak for the entire delegation here in Manatee County. But we want to just thank you for your courage coming up in front of us and presenting this important issue to us.
I would just say ditto. Your courage and your advocacy for what you believe in, and certainly what you're dealing with, is notable and very admirable. So we want to be as much help as we can be. So thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you in Tallahassee.
That's right.
Thank
We'll be
you.
there. Thanks.
All right. Next up, Miss Pat Ahrens from Freedom Village. She is with the Florida Life Care Residents Association. Welcome, Miss Ahrens. Good to see you.
Yes, good morning to you, Senator Boyd and delegation. I am Pat Ahrens, a resident for over 45 years, half my life. 45 years in Manatee County. That's half my life. But I've been for 15 years now at Freedom Village, Continuing Care Retirement Community. That's a CCRC in Bradenton, and I know that Senator Boyd is very familiar with the concept of a CCRC. We have there 3 levels of care: continuing care that's provided through residency in independent living, assisted living, and skilled nursing. So of those 45 years that I've been in Manatee County, my late husband and I lived for 33 years in the town of Longboat Key before going to Freedom Village. And it's my work career for over 40 years with the city, county, state, and federal governments, during which time I became keenly aware of the value of advocacy with our elected officials. I've appeared before this delegation almost every year since 1990, like almost 30 years. It began when I was served on the advisory board of the Institute of Government at Manatee Community College, which of course you know is now State College of Florida, and became chairman of that board. Now at Freedom Village, I continue to advocate for residents of CCRCs and have served for 12 years as president of the chapter at Freedom Village. I served on the state FLACRA board as vice president 2 years, 6 years as state president, 6 years as immediate past president. There are over 13,000 members in 54 chapters throughout the state of Florida that are in CCRCs. Now, residents of CCRC communities make a substantial investment through entrance fees to prepay for our potential health care. We pay monthly service fees as well. We have a lifetime contract. We are guaranteed living space and services suitable for our needs for the rest of our lives. FLACRA was formed by CCRC residents, not owners, operators, or legislators, and that was over 30 years ago. It led to the regulation of our communities, regulation of the owners and management, through enactment of Chapter 651 of the Florida statutes, and that's entitled Continuing Care Contracts. Now that's implemented and enforced by the state through the Office of Insurance Regulation, the OIR. So the mission of FLACRA is to promote and protect the rights of CCRC residents. It's been accomplished through our relationship with legislators and state regulating agencies. And I believe that FLACRA has become known and respected in the Capitol as the voice of CCRC residents through our successful efforts in continuing to update Florida law with protective legislation, protective both fiscally and physically. So each year our FLACRA State Board reviews at least 100 proposed bills or bill amendments to track and monitor throughout the legislative process. We've already identified 32 bills for this year that have already been filed out of the thousands that will be filed, 1 to 3,000, I guess. So I just want to let you know that our residents are of the greatest generation, a silent generation that followed, and we share the main values of security and stability. We are savers and planners, planners and savers. We look to our elected officials to acknowledge these values in enacting legislation that serves our best interests. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Just thank you again for being here, and you're relentless in your pursuit of what's best for your residents, and we appreciate that. So we look forward to working with you and look forward to seeing you at Freedom Village in the not too distant future. Thank you for being here. Next up, Ms. Jackie Dzelski, President and CEO of our Manatee Chamber of Commerce. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and delegation. And on behalf of the more than 2,100 businesses and nonprofit employers that are members of the Manatee Chamber and their more than 70,000 employees in our region, we thank you for the tremendous successes of this past session, and as importantly, now look forward to working with you on priorities for the coming session. Certainly want to acknowledge publicly the incredible work that was done in the areas of affordable and workforce housing, transportation and infrastructure funding, and of course lawsuit abuse that we believe will put money right back in the pockets of residents and business owners and employees here in the great state of Florida. As we have been discussing with our membership over the past several months and preparing our priorities to share with you more in depth when we visit with each of you in November during our annual trip to see you, property insurance continues to be a challenge, particularly on the commercial side when it comes to our membership. And so we will applaud and encourage your diligence in continuing the incredible work that you've done in addressing that issue and recognizing it as a significant headwind when it comes to the financial pressures that are on businesses currently. Affordable and workforce housing, again, great work, but we know that there is still more that likely can be done to ensure that we are a community in which everyone can find safe and affordable housing, particularly as it relates to the pressures that come down on the talent pipeline with companies finding employees. Your significant support of investments in our infrastructure within our education systems, both K through 12 and higher ed, is to be applauded, and we know we've already heard from our partners in the community that there are several requests coming in the coming session, and I expect that we will be sharing those as priorities with you on our legislative agenda as well. And then we heard from our county commission chairman as well as our city representatives, roads and bridges, infrastructure continues to be a priority as well. So we applaud you. We look forward to working with you. We are grateful to your teams as well. They are so responsive. I know you all often lift them up, but they are incredible partners with us as well to get the work done on a daily basis. So we look forward to seeing you in November when we're in Tallahassee, as well as at our Chamber Politics events that will be coming up with you all as guests, and continue your great work. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Thanks for being here. Next up, Sarasota Manatee Metropolitan Planning Commission, Annette Eubanks and Mayor Brown. Oh, wait a minute. What happened? Somebody messed up.
You've got Vice Mayor Jane Coker on behalf of Mayor Brown, who is the Vice Chair of the MPO.
Thanks.
I have Ryan Brown with me as well if you have any questions. So I believe you've been given the list of priorities, and I just want to hit a few of the highlights and I think first and foremost, keep that drumbeat going for that Bradenton-Palmetto connector. We've got to consider and fund some viable alternatives for that north-south and build the capacity there. We'd like to ask for your support and to advance funding for the Barrier Island Mobility Study. And also, we're excited about and would like for your support to the potential future implementation of the water taxi service throughout the region. I think that'd be a great traffic reliever. There's critical infrastructure, advance the funding of our aging bridges. That's so important to our tourism development. And I would like to ask for your consideration on all the projects and priorities and processes. As you can see, I think you got a list of all those. We'd like to ask for your support to expand Port Manatee and freight capacity and increase not only the capacity but support intermodal connections to the port, including direct connections to I-75. As far as SRQ, support capacity improvements and intermodal connectivity. Transportation funding, monitor the local, regional, and state funding and fund projects within our long-range plan. We ask for you that we encourage you innovative transportation alternatives, and we ask to expand local revenue sources for transportation and protect our transportation funds for the FDOT work program. And if you have any questions, I'm sure Ryan can expand on that.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I had a quick question. You mentioned earlier the water taxi, and you may have information, you may not, I understand, but how is that being accepted? Is it being used? I know there's one right from the pier down to Anna Maria, is that?
Correct, yeah, I think that's just a first part of that potential connection. If you look to the north, you've got the St. Pete to Tampa connection, very successful. Looking throughout our region, potentially coming from Bradenton all the way down to Sarasota. I think that's what Vice Mayor Coker is looking at, potentially, relieving some of our major congestion out to our tourist destinations out on the beaches, including a potential connection across the Manatee River here, which is, kind of leads back to our major concerns about dealing with capacity across the Manatee River. So the water taxi being certainly an important part to help alleviate and provide multimodal connections.
It's just such a cool concept that does alleviate traffic, and all of us have newsletters and communications with our constituents, so just for me, and I would assume my colleagues would do the same, if you have any kind of information or a little, kind of graphics or something that we might be able to send out and let people know, because I think people are hearing about it. I'm not so sure the masses know that it's available, so that's no slam on you all. I just want to make sure we communicate that broadly, because it is a great service.
Well, we could probably get more specific information, but it hasn't actually started yet.
Oh, okay.
We're
Well,
still in
that's-
sea trials with our,
Okay.
with the taxis, so
Okay.
as soon as that goes, but I've got my champagne bottle ready to get it started.
Good, well, thank you for that, and obviously everything else, but I think that's a kind of a great way to move people in and around the area. Yes, sir.
Not to hop on that issue, I think we have like a one that can go to Braden Beach, but the other two island cities aren't necessarily in agreement on stopping in those. Am I correct in that?
I think
Okay.
they're working through the issues.
Okay.
I mean, my understanding is that it was having some issues where they can dock and the ADA compliancy and all that.
Okay.
But I think we'll get it started where
Right.
we can and, keep building on it. And I think there's potential to have it grow down to Longboat Key. I mean, it could be a great asset, and I'm looking forward to it. So we appreciate your support for it.
Great.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Yes. Next up, Office of Criminal Conflict and Civil Regional Counsel, Ida Nemoyton. Did I get that even close?
Yes, sir.
Glad you're here. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Itani Moten, and I'm the Regional Counsel for the Second Region. The regional councils are appointed by the Governor of Florida and confirmed by the full Florida Senate. I am very honored to have been the youngest attorney and the first female in Florida to be appointed regional counsel. We handle conflict cases from the Public Defender's Office, and we are first in line in dependency cases. In my role as regional counsel, with the help of my attorneys and staff, we turned our agency into a model agency by increasing professionalism, and we have instituted fiscally conservative policies in representing our clients. In June 2022, we received the 10-year Excellence in Leadership Award from the Governor's Sterling Council. Our first legislative priority this year is to increase pay rates for our attorneys, since we are losing our attorneys to the private sector as well as other government agencies. I am also proposing a pilot program in death penalty litigation, which are the most expensive category of cases, as well as dependency cases, which is our largest category of cases. These pilot programs will save millions of taxpayer dollars. My death penalty program will allow my attorneys to take death penalty cases in other jurisdictions to save money over registry fees, and will allow more attorneys to be certified in death penalty litigation. My dependency pilot program will utilize social workers and other staff to help increase safe reunification, cut taxpayer dollars, and decrease time in foster care by 28%. Thank you for your time today, and I look forward to working with you on these issues in Tallahassee.
Thank you for being here. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, Ms. Brittany Lamont from Lakewood Business Alliance. Welcome.
Hello and good morning. Good morning, Chairman and members of our delegation. As you mentioned, my name is Brittany Lamont, and I represent the Lakewood Ranch Business Alliance. I also have with me Nick Feather from Capstan, our incoming Government Affairs Chair. So we represent over 650 employers in the Lakewood Ranch region, and what you have in front of you is our legislative agenda for 2024. As we mentioned before, I want to thank you for your work in the last session, specifically on a couple items that I want to touch on. And first is the continued reduction of the commercial lease tax. We're hopeful that maybe this year this will be a full repeal of that tax. You've heard from a lot of our higher ed institutions about the workforce struggles and the talent pipeline, so support of their projects, which you've heard previously. Additionally, thank you for the work for Live Local Act and the insurance reform. As mentioned in some previous folks who've been up here, there's continued work to do in that area. Another item I just want to bring your attention to, we've been working a lot with Representative Fiona McFarland, and that has to do with affordable childcare. So again, we represent 650 employees. I'm also a mom of 3, and just the overall cost of childcare. So if there is any opportunity for us to incentivize employers to be a part of that conversation, we'd love a seat at the table at that. So we look forward to working with you and appreciate all of your support. We will see you in November when we come up for our trip. So thank you.
Any questions? We look forward to seeing you all as well. Thank you for what you're doing. Next up, Peace River, Minnesota Regional Water Supply. Mike Coates is the Executive Director. Good morning. Good to see you.
Chairman Boyd, delegation members, on behalf of our Water Supply Authority, I want to thank you for your continued support. You have for many years supported the expansion of the regional water supply system to make it safe and resilient for our area. With state and SWIFMUD assistance, our partnership over the years is building a regional water supply system that's a model for this state. In 2023, we delivered an average of 32 million gallons of water a day to our 4-county region. That was through 80 miles of large diameter regional transmission system, and then our customers in turn provided that water to their customers through the distribution system. Through Hurricane Ian, Peace River facilities operated without fail. They propped up the rest of the regional system and provided water through the hurricane and after the hurricane while other facilities were down. State funding, of course, has always been important to these facilities and the expansion of these facilities. And while our regional water supply system today is sufficient to meet our needs, the fast-growing region is outpacing what we have, and we need to build something extra. So the regional water supply expansion that we're talking about today, and we have 2 brochures in your packet. That includes 2 projects that we would like your consideration on for funding. The first is a water supply project designed to meet the growing needs of our region through 2040. It includes a new 9 billion gallon reservoir out at the Peace River facility and a 24 million gallon a day expansion of our surface water treatment facilities. This is a $484 million project, so lots of money, but lots of bang for the buck on this. We expect to begin construction in 2025, and we're asking $10 million from the legislature this year for that project. Second project is a 20-mile large diameter transmission pipeline expansion in the region so that we can continue to deliver water to where it's needed, and especially during hurricanes and critical events like that, during emergencies. This is also in your packet. It's a $138 million project that will begin construction this fall. And we're asking $5 million from the legislature for that project. With the support of our local delegations, we did receive last year $10 million for the reservoir project, which is part of that surface water expansion. We really appreciate your support with that. These are, like I said, big projects, big dollars, and every dollar helps defer the cost to our local residents. So with that, I appreciate your attention today and your support. And if you have any questions, be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Coates. Any questions?
I do have
Representative Gregory.
The numbers are, pretty incredible, tough to comprehend. 30 million gallons of water a day that you're supplying to this area?
32 million, and that's only 40% of the water used in the region.
Wow. And I think you mentioned you're putting, or at least you want to construct a $9 billion.
9 billion gallon.
9 billion gallon. Where will that be located?
That will be located next to our existing 6 billion gallon reservoir out adjacent to our facilities in DeSoto County.
So you already have the land for it,
We do. It's Water Management District property. They own 6,000 acres out there. We have an easement over the entire 6,000 acres. We manage it for water supply purposes. So we do have the land for it. And we have just enough land to build one more reservoir.
And that was going to be my next question. How much land do you need to hold 9 billion gallons of water?
It'll be about 1,500 acres.
Okay.
Yep.
It's a lot of water.
Yeah, what?
Any other questions? Thank you. Look forward to, as always, working with you, and thanks for the service you provide our community.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Next up, we have Moat Marine, Dr. Michael Crosby. Welcome, Dr. Crosby.
Good morning, Chair Boyd, Senator Gruters, Rep. Robinson, Representative Gregory. On behalf of the entire Moat family of over 300 staff, 1,400 volunteers, and 10,000 members, I'm here to thank you all so very much for all of your support over the years. It has really allowed Moat to grow from a local homegrown nonprofit institution to a global powerhouse of innovative research and positive impact for the quality of life here in our local communities. I want to give a special shout out from last legislative session to Senator Boyd and Representative Robinson for being the lead sponsors for our seagrass initiative. That is going to be a real game changer for the entire state of Florida in terms of having a strategic plan for restoration using good science, genetic resiliency, so that we are going to be able to restore seagrass habitats all throughout our great state. And on Moat C, really want to thank Senator Gruder, Senator Boyd for your sponsorship there as well. Earlier this week, we poured the roof of that new Moat Science Education Aquarium. Over 32 million pounds of concrete have been used so far to build that. We're on target to open at the end of 2024. Our priorities for this legislative session are going to continue in the vein of innovative science and supporting enhancing the level of overall understanding by the public of the importance of science and our connections to the sea. In the areas of red tide, the Mitigation Technology Development Initiative is making great advances there. Thank you all for your support over the years for that initiative as well. And we'll continue obviously with the Seagrass Initiative, with the finishing out and completing of the Moat Science Education Aquarium. And you all are probably very familiar with the extreme thermal events that occurred down in southern Florida this year, in Florida Bay, Florida Keys. We had a major unprecedented coral evacuation that Moat led in terms of over 30,000 of our coral fragments that were out in the water getting ready to be outplanted. We pulled them all out, and we're going to be putting them back in later this year and continue that effort as well with your colleagues from Monroe County. We'll be leading that effort, but I know you all have supported us throughout with all of that. We are so fortunate to have leaders such as yourself. Whoop, that's my dog calling me. That means my 3 minutes is up. But we really do appreciate your support. You have the material. We're looking forward to meeting with you and your staff in the coming weeks and months to go over more details of each of our requests in these areas: red tide, seagrass, coral, and Moat C. And I do want to invite you all. Ocean Day will be occurring on February 6th and 7th up in Tallahassee. We'll look forward to seeing you up there and having you join with our scientists at that reception as well. But thank you all so very much for everything you do, not just for Moat, but for the entire community down here. So appreciate all your support.
Thank you, Dr. Crosby. Any questions? So just briefly, if you haven't been to Moat, I'm talking to our guests in the audience. We've all been out, I'm sure. But if you haven't been to Moat in a while, I would encourage you to go. It is incredible what's going on out there. And as you said, it is a world-class research facility, second to none in the world. And it's just fascinating, way over my head, most of it. But it's fascinating what you're doing. And we are so fortunate to have you in our community. So thank you for that. And I know I will, and I believe my colleagues will always be supportive of the work you're doing, because it's critical to so many components of our life. So thank you so much.
Thank you all very much for your support, and do come out and visit our newest facility out on the historic Anna Maria Pier. Great facility out there. We have over 600 people a day that visit that absolutely free of charge. Moat is providing that to our community and to tourists as well. But please go out and visit that as well. But thank you all
Thank you.
very, very much. Appreciate it.
We're going to take, sorry for the next presenter, but we're going to just take a 5-minute break to give everybody a second to, do whatever. And for our guests in the audience, Rob, I believe there's restrooms outside that door. Is that?
Yes, sir. Public restrooms outside this door, and of course, we have staff restrooms
Okay.
inside this door.
So no more than 5 minutes, if you will indulge us just for a minute, and or 5 minutes, and then we'll be back at it. Thank you. I don't know if you'll- That was a little longer than 5 minutes, but thank you for your patience. Next
I'll
up,
have
we
another
have
one.
Feeding Little Tummies, Kim Bailey. Good to see you, Kim, or Miss Bailey, excuse me. Welcome.
I have notes so that I stay focused because I tend to get off on a tangent. Hello. Feeding Empty Little Tummies is a Manatee County 501c3 that feeds homeless and food insecure children from the ages of 4 to 18 years of age. We followed the McKinney-Vento Act that defines homeless children and youth as individuals who lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. These children live in multifamily situations. We see a lot of these children being raised by grandparents right now due to incarceration and the opiate epidemic. Living in pay-by-the-week motels, hotels, facilities similar to the Salvation Army or shelters, living in their vehicles, or living in the many tent cities that we know are in our community. The children we feed receive free or reduced breakfast and lunch in Manatee County schools. However, once they leave school on Friday, many of these students go without nutrition 60+ hours. Our weekend backpack program provides 2 breakfasts, 2 lunch, 2 dinners, plus snacks. The meals meet the caloric intake needed to thrive and grow and learn, as provided by the Dietetics Department of the University of Florida and the School Board of Manatee County Dietitian. FELT partners with the school board and Project Heart, and that is a program that provides support and resources for students to succeed in school. There is a Project Heart liaison in every Manatee County school, and we currently have 60 schools that we serve. This time last year, we were feeding 1,060 children. I am sad to report this Friday we are providing meals for 1,636 children. This supports a 24% increase in the homeless situation in our community. We continue to be good stewards of the funds. We research the availability of food, the caloric requirements, the price points. We try to buy in bulk and save financially and to serve more students. On behalf of myself, the FELT Board of Directors, and the 100+ volunteers who fight to end childhood hunger in our community, we are asking for your guidance and your financial support. FELT has filed a request for $465,000 in funding to purchase the essential meals to ensure the opportunity for these children to grow, thrive, and learn, with the potential to end the cycle of homelessness and food insecurity. It definitely takes a village, and we look forward to working with you and working towards keeping Manatee County as a community with empathy and compassion for the most needy, and that is our children. I encourage you to visit our facility located in Palmetto on a Friday while school is in session. You will see our heart and our dedication to our mission to end childhood hunger, one backpack at a time. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Thank you so much for the service you're providing.
Fine.
It's really invaluable. Thank you. Next up, Tampa Bay Estuary Program, Jessica Lewis. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Jessica. I'm the newly minted title as Community Grants Manager at Tampa Bay Estuary Program. So I'm going to talk to you about a few of the issues that we're seeing throughout the estuary. You probably know that the estuary watershed is 2,200 square miles. We've got oyster bars, mangroves, we've got freshwater wetlands, open water, and we also have development. We also have condos and roads and commercial development as well. In just 3 years, between 2017 and 2020, we lost 17,000 acres of potentially restorable habitat in our watershed. That's a huge amount of loss. 15,000 of those acres were lost specifically to development. So we're rapidly losing restorable habitat to development, and we're losing opportunities to really take control of that situation. You probably also already know that nitrogen is the #1 pollutant in the Tampa Bay estuary. The main source of nitrogen pollution in the estuary is stormwater, the water that comes from our fertilized lawns or irrigation that runs across our roads that doesn't have the opportunity to seep in and stay where it is. The second source of nitrogen pollution is atmospheric deposition. Think about your car's tailpipe and the pollutants that go into the air from that eventually fall down and settle out into our estuary. So those are luckily two sources that can be curbed. Those are two sources that we can do something about, and we have had success with that in the past through the Nitrogen Management Consortium, which is an industry, government, public-private consortium that works together to proactively collaborate and reduce our nitrogen sources. The last thing I want to mention to you before we talk briefly about solutions is we recently funded an economic valuation report that the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council put out. And what we found is that 1 in 10 jobs in the region relies on a healthy, thriving estuary, clean water. We also found that the estuary contributes greater than $50,000 to housing values in our waterways. That's collectively $3.2 billion in regional property values that depend on a clean and healthy bay. Legislative solutions to some of these issues include creating and strengthening policies and long-term solutions to reduce nitrogen pollution from stormwater and atmospheric deposition, as well as wastewater, improve natural tidal circulation throughout the bay by modifying causeways, and restoring diverse and critical coastal habitats, like some of those that we've lost quite a lot of in the last few years. Some examples of that are FDP, has put out a new statewide stormwater rule. As you may know, it does require ratification legislation to be filed. And altering causeways as they're being built instead of waiting until after they're built, where it costs a lot more taxpayer money to make those modifications after the fact. We also want to make sure that we have continued support for wildlife corridors and natural land preservation to make those strategic acquisitions throughout the watershed. We don't want these memories of wild Florida to be just that, memories. We want them to continue forward for many generations. And lastly, part of our job is making sure that the community is part of restoring and protecting Tampa Bay, and honestly would like them to be the leaders. And you, of course, are part of that community. So if there's any of these topics that you would like to learn more about or talk about more solutions, whether it is nitrogen pollution, habitat restoration, any of these issues, I'd love to get you in touch with our executive director, Ed Sherwood. He's a really smart guy, and he can definitely give you some advice there.
Awesome, thank you. Questions? Thank you for the work you're doing. We live in paradise, and we appreciate what you're doing to help us maintain that. Next up, Manatee Habitat for Humanity, Miss Emily Lane. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here this morning, and I want to really give you a big shout out for passing the Live Local Act. That was so wonderful for us, but there's more to be done. As I said, I'm here to talk specifically about affordable home ownership, specifically Manatee County Habitat for Humanity. We're really excited. Next year will be our 30th anniversary after we were part of Minnesota Habitat. Now we're serving this county exclusively. We also are going to sell our 150th home in 2024, so it's a big year for us. We have a 96% success rate over the last 30 years. That's pretty astounding because Habitat's such a great program. We'll be building a lot more houses. We've been, under the leadership of a new CEO, really ramping up what we're doing. We expect to build about 13 homes next year, more in 2024. But we have a list of 100 families that are pre-qualified that we have not yet matched with a house, and we are taking more than 80 inquiries every month for people who are hoping to get a Habitat home because it's their only chance of getting a house. The 0% mortgage, those safe and very solid houses are so critical to them. To put what's going on right now in perspective, and I know you're aware of a lot of this, 1 in every 6 households in Florida, including our area, pays more than half of their income for housing. In Manatee County, 31% of all the families in this county are below the ALICE threshold, which is not good. And local rents are up about 40% since 2020, so it's a dire situation. The low-income people, these are the people that are the bedrock of our labor force, and their children, who are our future, are in unsafe, unsustainable housing, and we want to fix that as much as we can. We hear stories every day of some pretty horrific situations. We're working with a mom right now. She has got 2 kids. They're living in an RV, and only half of it has electricity because it's rat infested. They've chewed the wires up. I believe she also lost hot water recently. Another one of our single moms was attacked in her rental housing. So it's a little scary out there. But the good news is we have more than 70 building lots, and under a new CEO, we've literally ramped up our output by about 500% in a little over a year. So that's pretty spectacular, but we need your help. We need more money. We need more land, if you happen to have any. And of course, volunteers is always an issue for us. The great thing about us is every single Habitat homeowner pays only 30% of their income for their mortgage. Right now, mortgage payments on a house that we sell today for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, brand new, really nice house, about $950. That's amazing. That includes taxes and insurance, even though that has been difficult lately, as I know Senator Boyd knows. We don't give those homes away. The mortgage payments go towards building more houses. What an amazing thing. What this means is more leverage for every state dollar. So we hope you'll continue to support us, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you. Questions? Thank you for what you're doing. It's a credible organization. Making an impact, Victoria Caston. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to the Manatee County Delegation. I am Victoria Casden, Board Chair at Making an Impact. I think all of you actually are familiar with me and my organization, and I want to remind you that the first step to getting help is knowing where to find it. And that's what we do. We are a social benefit nonprofit organization focused on community navigation. Our organization empowers people with information and insight to guide those who need help to the organizations that provide it. This morning, you heard a lot of sad stories. You heard a lot of organizations that are in need. Many of them, if not most of them, are actually using our guide. We increase the return on investment that you make in those social service organizations because when people come to them, they usually have more than one problem. And while they're there, it's an opportunity for that nonprofit to guide or redirect the person to the additional services that they may not provide because there's usually not just one problem. Our community resource guide, which you're familiar with, the Blue Book people refer to, has over 300 organizations in Sarasota and Manatee counties providing basic need services. This book is used by most social service agencies, most law enforcement agencies, including both sheriff's offices, and faith-based organizations. We also recently, in reaction to Hurricane Ian, created a disaster resource guide. This book has over 100 organizations in it with information that people are most likely to want following a disaster. This book currently has 1,000 copies in circulation. The Blue Book has 5,000 copies in circulation, and the Blue Book is available in English and Spanish. Both books are available online, available to the public for free. However, we are in need of money because so many people want the paper guide, and they're costly, and so we need some additional support. We're currently on back order for our community resource guide, and we need some assistance with technology to keep it free online and also to support growth and operational support. I'd just like to let you know that I did leave you copies of our disaster resource guide and to remind you that the first step to getting help is knowing where to find it.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Your service is very valuable, so thanks for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Next up, we have Pace Center for Girls, Christy Haley. Welcome.
Mr. Chair and delegates, first of all, I want to thank you so much for your support of PACE. Your advocacy in Tallahassee is huge for us across the state. We have 21 centers across our state. The great thing about Manatee County is we were number 2. The first center opened in Jacksonville in 1985, and we were in 1989. So we have been in this county for a long time. We serve approximately 59 girls on any one day at our center in Manatee County at our school, but we also serve about 110 girls per year. That's unduplicated girls, an additional 40 to 50 in our aftercare program. This is an intensive care program for 1 year once they leave our intensive day program. We will be breaking ground in 2024. We're super excited about that. We've already cleared our lot where our existing building was, and we're in a temporary location. We will be breaking ground to an almost 20,000 square foot facility, which will allow us to widen our services, provide services for more girls, and broaden our impact right here in Manatee County. I'm not here to ask you for anything but your time today, so thank you again for your advocacy, and please mark your calendars for January 16th and 17th. Our girls will be hitting the Capitol for Pace Day at the Capitol. Last year, each of you made time for our girls, and I can't tell you what it meant for them to come back and say, senators wanted to talk to me. They wanted to hear from me. And that is incredibly important to them, to know that the community cares and to know that they matter. So I just want to thank you for your support.
Happy to. Any questions? Look forward to seeing you all in Tallahassee. It really is refreshing to see all the red shirts and all the girls and the lives that you all are changing. It really is heartwarming to see that. So we'll always be available to meet with you when you come to
I hope
Tallahassee.
y'all come to groundbreaking when it happens in 2024.
That'd be awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Suncoast Center for Independent Living, Harvey Brooks. Welcome, Mr. Brooks. Can we get that microphone kind of down a little bit? Thank you, Kevin. Hopefully that'll work if you can get up there close enough. We should be able to hear you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
I can.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I move over?
You can do it. No, please. Yes, sir. There you go.
Okay, here we go. I would like to first of all thank the delegation for allowing me to be here today. I am representing these centers for independent throughout the state of Florida. I'm with the Suncoast Center for Independent Living. We've been serving consumers here in Manatee County and Sarasota County since 1990. The Suncoast Center for Independent Living assists individuals with disabilities, all types of disabilities, with becoming as independent as they possibly can be. We do everything from, we have durable medical equipment program, where we give out wheelchairs, walkers, crutches, any type of durable medical equipment. It's a loan program. We give the equipment out, but we really never expect to get these things back. And we also have a computer loan program as well, where we give our consumers who have disabilities these refurbished computers, and it goes a long way in helping them with their independence. And we also have we deliver food to these individuals with disabilities and their families throughout Sarasota and Manatee counties. And then currently we're doing transition, and which is a value actually for the community, because it gets our consumers out of their homes, or not out of them, into their homes, out of the nursing homes, out of the assisted living facilities. So it's an economic value for the community. So what we're doing, or I should say through the Florida Association of Centers for Independent Living, the CILs will be requesting an appropriation of $1.5 million in general revenue to provide $100,000 to each of the 15 CILs. And this is just to meet the increasing demands for transition services for Floridians with disabilities who want to live, who want to work, and succeed in their communities. So with that being said, at some point everybody within Florida is going to have some type of disability. If you live long enough, it's just a fact. We are going to have a disability. And we want you to know that the Center for Independent Living will be here to assist with any type of needs that any person that has a disability needs. So that being said, I thank you again for your time.
Perfect timing. Any questions? Well, the organization certainly has a good spokesperson in you, Mr. Brooks, so thank you for being here.
Thank you, guys.
And we'll look at this in Tallahassee as it comes before us.
And we appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Next, we have Operation Warrior Resolution. Take your time, too, by the way. We're not rushing you out of there. We have Operation Warrior Resolution. Kendra Simpkins, CEO. And if you'll just give Mr. Brooks a second, you're welcome to come on up. Welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Chairman Boyd, delegation, thank you for the opportunity to stand here today. I'm Kendra Simpkins, U.S. Army veteran and founder and CEO of Operation Warrior Resolution. You've likely heard of our organization. We're the leading mental health provider for veterans in this area outside of the VA. And that's because we provide innovative, holistic treatments for PTSD and trauma that aren't offered anywhere else. And veterans are 57% at a higher risk for suicide than civilians alone. And here in Florida, we have hundreds of veterans who are dying by suicide, and right here in Manatee County as well. And veterans rely on community-based organizations like Operation Warrior Resolution, and we're dedicated to eliminating these high rates of suicide for veterans. The CDC says this is a complicated issue, but it meets 4 criteria to reduce veteran suicide. And one is to improve mental health care for them. In Operation Warrior Resolution, we have 89% of our veterans no longer dealing with symptoms of trauma or emotional distress. The second one is to develop coping strategies to handle all of life's stressors. And we have therapists and coaches that are meeting with veterans ongoing so that they're developing these coping strategies for resilience against life. The third one is to build a healthy community and create strong connections. And that's something we focus very dearly on at OWR, is creating a great community, or tribe as we call ourselves, so that veterans have peers that they can connect to and that supports their ongoing wellness. The fourth and last one is to create economic security. And this is the one that we're requesting your support on and encouragement for, is to develop job opportunities and have job training for veterans so that they can go into those high demand jobs and have purpose again after the military, and also create that financial stability that's going to further reduce veteran suicide. The real main reason that I wanted to come here in front of you today is to express my immense gratitude and appreciation and support for your sponsorship and your support this last year with the appropriations. We've been able to expand and serve so many more Florida veterans, and one of them was right here in Manatee County. Luke Haney, who's a U.S. Army veteran, deployed 2 times in Iraq, and he was helped through appropriations that you helped us support.
Awesome.
Hello, thank you. Navy veteran. Army.
Is Navy better than Army, or?
Most of the time. I was really, really struggling. I had a lot of baggage when I came and retired from the military. I was in a difficult situation many times, and VA's only push a lot of time is medication, medication, medication. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen, either from pain pills to mental health medication. I was unsure when I heard of the program, and I was like, nothing's working for me. So I stepped into the program, and off the bat, I was a little, this is kind of wonky, but I'd never had the type of sleep, the type of release, the type of relaxation in the 9 years since I had retired that I had there. I was bonding with those that were there that had the same kind of injuries, access, combat experience, and we came together, and as Kendra said, it's just a tribe, and it just helped me so much more. They even helped my wife. They provided aid with that, and even with my children who have had to deal with some of that baggage that I brought home. And as I said, I never slept so well since I got back. I didn't have the dreams. I didn't have the issues. And connecting with me, coming back with me, weekly meetings, following up even after my first time at one of the retreats. It's just been amazing. And if you can help even one more vet from killing themselves, you've done something magical. That's it. I appreciate it. Thank you all.
That's a great story. Thank you, and thanks for your service so much. And we're gonna hear from the Air Force, or? Anybody have any questions? I do have one question. So it obviously helped gentlemen in our community. How does one access the services? Like if one of our constituents might need or be benefit by what you do, how do they access it? And maybe in your material, but for the good of the audience too, it might be helpful.
Absolutely. You can reach us at our website, operationwarriorresolution.org, or
Okay.
Making the Impact Guide.
Okay.
And then we will get them connected with a
Okay.
therapist within 24 hours.
Thank you, and thanks for the story. That's incredible.
And go Navy.
All right, Central Florida Behavioral Network, Luis Rivas. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you guys for this opportunity. It's always easier when you don't have to have a big ask, right? So I do have to thank you guys for the last couple of years. You've really supported our efforts as the managing entity. We are here as your managing entity. We're actually came about because you guys created us as a way of building and creating and maintaining the safety network for behavioral health services. Right now we have oversight of about $286 million. A lot of efforts have been put into this because of your guidance. We've been able to expand services in Manatee County for our community action teams, our family intensive treatment teams. Another one that's really good is our care coordination, and that's intended for individuals that are high utilizers of the system to be able to break down and reduce that recidivism. So we do all this with administrative rate of up to 5%, but we actually have never been at that. We've been approximately about 3%. We take great pride in that because we'd rather our dollars go to our community, and that's what we want to continue to impress. Some of our priorities this year are going to be our mobile response teams. We want to be able to get to the issue as quickly as possible with our teams, working with our law enforcement to be able to reduce the stress on them as well. Child welfare and partnering up with Children's Network from Southwest Florida that serves this area here. And then of course the hurricane relief that we've all been trying to work through and get back. Key critical elements is, we've talked about it already, housing, housing, housing. It's been our needs forever. We keep getting closer to where we need to be, but I think it's going to be one of those that we'll always be working on, but we want to be able to collaborate with you guys on that and provide the services to help individuals stay successfully in the community. And lastly, I just, once again, just thank you for these last few years that we've been doing. I've been in the field for 23 years, and it's been the first couple of years that I've been like, we actually have money to do things now. So I appreciate all you're doing up in Tallahassee, and we'll continue our conversations up there.
Thank you very much. Questions? Appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Children's Home Society of Florida, Jessica Garcia. You did not, oh, there we go. Okay, I was gonna say, you don't look like Jessica.
It's Jesse.
Oh, Jess?
Jesse.
Okay, I will not take responsibility. Oh, it is Jesse, my bad. I should have put my glasses on. Sorry about that, sir.
Mr. Chair and delegation, want to thank you for this opportunity. Again, my name is Jesse.
To be clear.
I'm the Community Partnerships Director working out of Daughtry Elementary. And I have with me Dr. Lidis Cuenca, who's the Expanded Learning Coordinator for both schools, Manatee Elementary and Daughtry. I'm a lifelong native of here, Bradenton, Florida, born and raised. I've seen the growth of the city throughout the years. Some days I'm very happy to see all the new buildings coming up. Some days it breaks my heart because I was, it used to be a small little town, but with the growth, it's a lot of needs that I'm sure you're well aware of. On behalf of Children's Home Society, I want to thank you for the $11 million that was appropriated for the partnership schools during the 2023 legislative session. This funding supports 36 community partnership schools across Florida, including 2 here in Manatee County, which is Manatee Elementary and Daughtry. The funding helps support many of the programs that are aligned with the needs of the school and the community. These needs help to bring on additional staff, which we have the Health and Wellness Coordinator, the Expanded Learning Coordinator, and the Family Engagement Specialist. With these funds, we anticipate 8 more schools receiving community partnerships awarded, and we'll be able to serve more students across the state of Florida. The UCF model pulls together 4 core partners, which includes the local school district, a nonprofit organization, which is Children's Home Society, a healthcare partner, which in our case is Manatee County Rural Health, and a local university, which we collaborate with USF to give teacher support and keep teacher retention. These partners have come together through a long-term commitment of 25 years. We know many of our students the school has become more than just a place to learn, but it's a hub that serves for a resource for our students, the parents, and the community, with the opportunity for expanded learning and address the needs of health care. Many of our children do not attend schools because of healthcare issues, so we provide them with that services. We are proud to impact the impact that we're having on these students by removing barriers to their education. Positive impacts include higher test scores, less disciplinary referrals, and greater teacher retention, as well as strong parent engagements. We're requesting that the legislator continues to support the program for the increased funding in 2024. Which will help here in Manatee County improve our model, which projected to have a couple more schools engaging in the community partnership. I would like to personally extend this invitation for each one of the delegation to come out to visit either Manatee or Daughtry Elementary to see how the community partnership is working within our school system. I want to thank you for your time, your enthusiasm to serve our state and our community, and for considering Children's Home Society. We look forward to seeing you during the 2024 legislation session.
Thank you, Jesse.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? We appreciate you all being here. Thank you. Excuse me. Goodwill, Minnesota, Melissa Carmen. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here today on behalf of Goodwill just to kind of say thank you for your continued support. Our president and CEO had planned to be here and speak, so I'm doing this kind of on the fly here. But he wanted to make sure I said thank you to you, Mr. Representative Robinson, for your sponsorship last year of the Florida Goodwill Association's appropriations. It was vetoed, but it was still very beneficial for us. It helped spread the story of Goodwill. Our mission is changing lives through the power of work. But our impact is far beyond just jobs, and that's always shown in our annual impact numbers. Here in Manatee County, we have 2 new donation centers and 2 new stores planned for the next few years. This is going to create about an additional 120 jobs in our community. Beyond our donation centers and our stores, there are hundreds of partnerships and collaborations we're working on with other nonprofits and agencies here in this area. Those are multiplying our impacts and our efforts every day. In addition to all this, we're expanding our veterans program, working on our job connection programs. We're always looking for ways to expand Supported Jobs Plus and our pursuit of education.
So again, I just want to come before you and say thank you for all your support.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. 1,000 Friends of Florida, Ms. Haley Bush. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Haley Bush. I'm Outreach Director for 1,000 Friends of Florida. We are a statewide smart growth organization, and we advocate for long-term comprehensive planning that ensures sustainable growth and economic development while protecting our natural resources. So I live just over the bridge in Pinellas County, which looks very different than Manatee County here. And my family, we like to come over to Manatee County to hike, paddle, recreate, and get a slice of that old Florida that much of our state is losing to rapid growth and development. I was going to talk about the relationship between land conservation and water quality, but I think the folks at the Tampa Bay Estuary Program established that for you all, and you all are very aware of the history of Tampa Bay, seagrass loss, and how nutrient pollution impacts the health of our bay and our local economy here in the Tampa Bay area. And so one of our legislative priorities for this session is keeping up the momentum for land acquisition funding. So last year, y'all came really close to the $1 billion mark for land conservation funding. The Florida Wildlife Corridor program has been an incredible success. I just came back from the Wildlife Corridor Summit in Orlando last week. There's excellent momentum, cross-stakeholder participation. The CEO of the Chamber of Commerce was there as a keynote speaker. And so we just urge you to continue that strong momentum for increased funding for Rural and Family Lands Program, Florida Forever. I encourage you to look at the Florida Communities Trust as well for more urban parks and recreation opportunities. And then I'm going to go a little off my script here to talk about something that the folks this morning from the local governments talked about, home rule, and particularly home rule with regard to land use planning. And so as a smart growth organization, and I'm also an urban planning graduate student, I've studied Florida's history of growth management legislation, beginning with in the 1920s and then 60s, 70s being a state-down approach. And then we delegated authority to our local governments. And so in the past 4 or 5 decades, our local governments have had a strong ability to build out their planning staff and to oversee the regional flavor of growth and development for all of our counties and municipalities. So that is also one of our legislative priorities, is protecting home rule with regard to land use planning. Affordable housing is a big, hairy topic and thing to iron out. The Live Local Act made some good progress. So thank you, Senator Boyd, for acknowledging that there's some things to work out. We'll be tracking that issue as well and stand as a resource if you need any assistance or would like to include us in the conversation. So thank you for the time this morning.
Yeah, I would, and thank you. I would say include yourself in the conversation. I'm not trying to put it back on you, but if you do have ideas, get them to us. I know our Senate staff is working on, some issues that I mentioned earlier in the meeting. So, but seriously, if you have any ideas, reach out to our office, Senator Gruder's office, or our colleagues in the House as well, because we want to get it right. We think it was a good step, but nothing is ever perfect in this process. So we'll continue to work on it to make it the best product possible.
Thank you. I'm going to leave our priorities with your staff.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay. Thank you for being here. I believe next is Academy, at Glengarry, Mr. William McKeever. Welcome.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, delegation, for the opportunity to speak with you. Today, my name is William McKeever from Academy at Glengarry, and we have a new project that we started about 1.5 years ago, Academy at Bradenton. I'd like to share a little bit about our updates about that. But first and foremost, I would like to thank you for your support of mental health services in the last several years. The legislature has prioritized mental health services, and we've seen the effect downstream for us at the Academy of Glengarry in Sarasota and now the Academy of Bradenton. You heard from Luis Rivas from Central Florida Behavioral Health Network, our managing entity, and we are one of the providers and one of the priorities here in Manatee County for that. So I'd like to share a little bit about what we do with that funding. I want to thank Representative Robinson, welcome us yesterday, and I specifically want to thank Senator Joe Gruders. Senator Gruders has been a champion ours for, since we opened 6 years ago, and has really enabled rehabilitation to happen in Sarasota County, and thanks to your support this year, we received startup funding here in Bradenton. So I want to thank him. I'm here with our board president, Joan Geyer, and I'm excited to share what we're doing in mental health. And you might ask, what exactly do we do related to clinical services, because you have a wonderful provider in Centerstone. We provide the hands-on rehabilitation aspect. We don't do the clinical services. And when someone is stable and ready to move forward, we provide them with hands-on job training and workforce development. We all know the staffing needs here in the county. And so we will provide candidates for jobs in area businesses, specifically restaurants, hotels, and a variety of other businesses. So workforce development is big, and you might ask, well, what does workforce development have to do with mental health? Mental illnesses is the largest disability group on governmental benefits, and it's the one with the highest level of unemployment. 85 to 90%, both locally and nationwide, people are unemployed if they're living with a serious mental illness. So where we come in is we're helping people acquire skills in training and placing them in jobs in local businesses. Last year, our members collectively earned in Sarasota County over $600,000 in earnings. So we're moving people forward. So we want to thank you for your support of mental health. We'd love you to come and see our facility. Thanks to a $3 million private investment, we have a beautiful facility 5 blocks up the street on the corner of Old Main and New Main. You've probably seen that building under construction. We're hoping to open before the end of the year. Before the end of the year. We'd like to have you all there to visit with us and celebrate. And once we open, we're close by. We serve a wonderful lunch, and we'd love to have you come by and see hands-on what our members do day to day in the recovery process and rehabilitation process. So I look forward to getting to know some of you who we don't know yet, and look forward to welcome you 5 blocks away to our new facility, Academy of Bradenton.
Very nice. We look forward to that as well. Questions? Thank you so much for being here. Next up, we have JM Support Coordination Services, Melissa Mazeda, I believe. How about that? I messed up Jesse's name, but I got yours right. So I'm like 50-50 here. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and delegation members. It's nice to see you again. My name is Melissa Mazeda, and my agency provides support coordination services to adults and children with developmental disabilities that are on the iBudget Medicaid waiver program that is overseen by the Agency for Persons with Disabilities. And there are several folks that are here today that are receiving services from that program in particular. I've found that many people don't understand that developmental disability actually differs from other disabilities. A developmental disability is something that occurred prior to the age of 18. It is lifelong. It is not something that you get better from or get over. Some examples of developmental disabilities are Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, spina bifida, autism, and again, these are lifelong and occurred prior to the age of 18, so during childhood. There are 3 things that I wanted to bring to your attention today. One is I would really like all of you to be supportive of legislation to include the Agency for Persons with Disabilities in the Social Services Estimating Conference. This would be really important and impactful for the people of the program. Secondly, Senate Bill 2510 passed this last session, and within it is a managed care pilot program to address people that are on the wait list. Managed care is not the answer for this vulnerable population. And the reason for that is because Florida does not have a good history of enforcing its contracts for managed care that's contracting out. The most recent evidence of this is a decision that was handed down by Judge Middlebrooks after a decade of litigation where medically fragile, developmentally disabled children have basically been warehoused in nursing homes and put there by managed care companies that Florida contracted to. This decision just came down this summer after a decade of litigation. The waiver program is competent to do what it's been designed to do. The problem is that it has not been supported adequately, so parts of it have atrophied. The solution is not in changing the delivery of the service. The solution is adequately supporting the current system, which is the iBudget waiver program, which leads me to my 3rd item, which is the case management caseload for support coordinators that provide services to people on this program. The caseload is 43 right now. 21 years ago, the state of Florida contracted to a company, Mercer, to do a study on this particular program, and 21 years ago, they recommended that the caseload be 32. 21 years ago, and it's 43, and the workload has increased exponentially. One of the things that I don't know if all of you guys are aware of this, but there's a program that's been spearheaded by the First Lady, Casey DeSantis, called the HOPE program, and it's actually in several governmental agencies, DJJ, DCF, and now they're partnering with APD. And a HOPE navigator is somebody that helps to guide Floridians on an individual path to prosperity and hope by focusing on community collaboration between the private sector, faith-based community, nonprofits, and government entities to maximize resources and uncover opportunities. And support coordinators were the original HOPE navigators. That is our job, to connect people with those resources. So I'd like for you to please, the Social Services Estimating Conference, really take a hard look at the managed care situation that has just occurred, that recent decision that was handed down, the caseloads for support coordination, and I am going to leave a couple of things with you guys that I would like for you to look at, and to please keep in mind to exercise compassionate conservatism with this group.
Thank you. Thanks for being here, and thank you all for being here as well. We appreciate it very much. Any questions? Okay. Next up, we have Conservation Foundation of the Gulf Coast, Debbie Osborne. Welcome.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you all about the importance of saving land and water. I'm the Director of Land Protection for Conservation Foundation of the Gulf Coast. And we truly want to thank you for your recent and ongoing support for land conservation funding. The monies that have been appropriated for the Florida Forever and the Rural and Family Land programs have significantly benefited our community. Hurricanes, drought conditions, recovery from COVID-19, these underscore the reasons why we need more land conserved. Protected lands buffer our drinking water, rural lands help floodwaters, and mangroves and other natural coastal areas soften the tidal surge. Although our public lands, waterway buffers, and ranch lands saw damage, their native habitat is resilient and they will recover. In addition, our parks and preserves provide a place for residents to be able to find relief from these very difficult times. So again, thank you for what you've provided. Yes, we have more to do. With thousands of people coming to Florida daily, homes are being built rapidly to accommodate this growth, and we need to make sure that we are not putting people in harm's way. So it's more important now than ever to protect the critical lands identified through the Florida Forever and the Rural and Family Land Protection Programs. These state programs provide multiple benefits, including water resource protection, restoration and maintenance of public lands, protecting a viable agricultural sector, purchasing conservation easements and partnering with local governments and conservation organizations, nonprofits such as Conservation Foundation, help reduce the state's costs and management responsibilities. Within Manatee County, there are numerous properties seeking Florida Forever and Rural and Family Land monies, from terracea to the eastern ranch lands. And if these lands are protected, they will provide additional benefits to this community. Conservation Foundation and our thousands of supporters, thank you for continuing to allocate much needed funds to conserve the special places in Florida that drive our economy, safeguard our drinking water, help protect our communities from the impacts of increasingly severe storms, and ensure our farms and ranches continue to produce our food. We also would love to see $1 billion of land conservation funding, but we truly hope that you will continue to increase the amount of money available through Florida Forever, the Rural and Family Land Program, and also the Florida Community Trust grants that do provide very essential grants to local governments for more urban open space. Thank you so much. Our way of life depends on it.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you so much for being here. Next up, we have Colonel Kevin Wright, Chairman of the Manatee County Republican Liberty Caucus. Welcome, Colonel.
Thank you. Good morning, gentlemen. One of the outcomes of our state convention of August is that I am now also an at-large director for the state. So much of what I had to say, what you have in a handout, is going to be spoken to all your peers in the legislature across the state, because we're chartered in most every county now, and we have members throughout that. And this is a work in progress. We will have an update to you before we come to spend time with you in lobby days in January. I'm happy to take advantage of this opportunity. The Republican Liberty Caucus is a national grassroots organization, and we work to advance the principles of individual rights, limited government, and free markets. And we call upon you to abide by these same principles as you decide the future of the great state of Florida and the lives of millions of Floridians as well as those here in Manatee County. I'll start right off with our issues. Number one, the right of self-defense continues to be, despite taking steps forward, a second-class civil liberty in the state of Florida. And I'm talking about Second Amendment preservation and protection. Permitless carry is not constitutional carry. It does not allow for open carry, and it does not address the longstanding prohibition against carrying on a college or university campus. It doesn't address the unconstitutional red flag statute passed as part of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas bill. Nor does it reinstate the constitutional right of 18, 19, and 20-year-olds, even though they can serve in war and deal with far more dangerous weapons than a handgun or a pistol, to be able to purchase a firearm from a licensed dealer. Number two, campaign finance reform. It's time to put an end to the legal laundering of millions of dollars in special interest campaign contributions. We moved the needle a little bit by touching on it last session, but we're not there yet. Through political committees and electioneering communications organizations, we support legislation that would prohibit further transfers or contributions between political committees and election communications organizations, which can be operated by industry and trade groups, unions, other special interest organizations, elected officials, and candidates, political parties, and affiliated committees. It remains near impossible for the average voter to discern the sources of these funds, and it makes a mockery of transparency. Term limits. 8 years is enough. We support 8-year term limits for every office at every level of government. We supported legislation last session that would have established 8-year term limits for school board members. Number four, the Florida Recall Initiative. We support extending citizen initiative elective office recall provisions to Florida's 47 non-chartered counties. We supported HJR 131, recall of county officers and commissioners. It passed the House overwhelmingly and never even got a hearing in the Senate. We'd like to provide that any member of a governing body of a non-chartered county can be removed from office by the voters of a non-chartered county. Currently, only 20 chartered counties, and Manatee County is one is non-chartered. State Freedom Caucus. Andy Roth, Representative Greg, who's with us at our convention, by the way, and he's good friends with Andy Roth. Andy Roth, the president of the State Freedom Caucus Network, was at our lunch speaker at our biennial convention. He's a veteran Republican political. He's worked with the House Freedom Caucus, and that's where he resides and works on a daily basis, is up there. And you can see what effect that they are having. And what he is trying to call for is for all the states. I think he's got 11 states down. We'd like Florida to be one of them, to establish, and we would like you to support any initiatives and do not get in the way of the establishment of a Florida Freedom Caucus to operate in our legislature. Remove the United States Capitol Police from the state of Florida.
Kevin, could I get you to wrap it up? We're hit the time limit.
Yeah, I always do that. I always
have
think
all
I
these
have fewer
points.
words in this.
We do have them in the handout.
I will leave it to the handout, but I do want you to know that we support efforts up in Hillsborough to remove the state capitol police from there in support of Article 10 of the Bill of Rights, which reserves powers to the states. I talked at length last year about Florida sunshine laws. At this point, we'd only have one ad. You might as well just throw it out. That part that applies to local government, because it is routinely ignored because it's so unenforceable as it is anyway. Here locally is the way. Education, I have nothing to add to that. I think the government spending and taxation, other than to say that, hey, we balance the budget, but our budget keeps going up. So we are actually spending more money and taxes are still going up. So we don't want to fool ourselves right there. What else do I want to talk about?
Colonel.
And I'm going to leave it there, and I'll leave it. There's about 10 other items, but you've got the handouts, which are much longer than what I would have spoken to right here, but I'll leave it to you. I appreciate the time to speak.
Thanks. Sorry to cut you off, but we will look forward to seeing you in Tallahassee.
I see you in January.
Always welcome
gentlemen.
your visit. Thank you for being here. Floridians for National Popular Vote, Debbie Mazzaferro, I believe. Did I get that close?
Yeah, except I go by Deb, not Debbie. But you got the Mazzaferro just
I
right.
got Debbie on here.
I don't know why.
I don't either.
Not since I was in junior high school.
We didn't know each other then, but I apologize.
Yes, my colleague, Sarah Peacock.
Hi.
So I moved to Manatee County in 1987, and in 2017 I co-founded Floridians for National Popular Vote, and Sarah is our volunteer coordinator statewide. So lucky you, I'm a state organization, but I'm local to you guys. So what is the Florida, or what is a national popular vote? Basically, it's a very simple and elegant solution to the electoral college mismatch that doesn't allow every vote to count the same way it does in every other election. In Florida, we have 5,588 elected offices, and every single one of those offices is a direct vote for that person, whether it's a plurality or a majority vote. Of course, we don't have that in the presidential election. This interstate compact is up to you guys to pass. It's not up to the citizens to do an initiative on. We've had a bill in Florida every year for 7 or 8 years. This year, Representative Michael Gottlieb is our House sponsor. The bill number is number 67 in the House. We don't have a Senate bill yet, but we will. So there's a lot of misconceptions about what the national popular vote is or isn't. Like I said, it does not do away with the Electoral College. It does not require a U.S. constitutional amendment. It simply lets you decide how the electors vote. So we've already passed this compact in 17 jurisdictions, representing 205 electoral votes out of the 270 needed to elect the president. Of course, if Florida's 30 electors jumped on board, we'd be almost all the way there. Even if you guys are not inclined to vote for this, you need to know it's coming down the road, and we're all about educating, you know, the legislators directly, as well as we do a lot of, you know, organizational education as well. So even though Florida is becoming more and more reliably Republican in its national elections, that actually has an impact that you guys should be considering, and that's that we're going to lose our swing state status. What comes with swing states? Lots of campaign money, lots of campaign visits, lots of policy that's beneficial to the swing state. That's going away. There's going to be 6 to 8 states that decide this presidential election based on the winner-take-all system, and we're not one of them. I'll let you have that.
Thank you, Deb. Appreciate the presentation. Next up, League of Women Voters, Ruth Herringer, I believe. Welcome.
Thank you. Chairman, senators, representative, I'm here to talk to you about voter rights in voting rights legislation in 2024. I am the co-president of the League of Women Voters of Manatee County, and I have Sarah here also with me as a league colleague. The League of Women Voters is a century-old, nonpartisan, grassroots organization working endlessly to protect and expand voting rights and ensure everyone is represented in our democracy. Today, we'd like to ask you for your support in increasing accessibility to the electoral process, specifically in 2 distinct areas: voter registration and vote by mail. With regard to voter registration, over the past few years, Florida's legislature dramatically raised fines and penalties for third-party voter registration groups like the League. For democracy to work, it really must include all voices. Florida's legislatures have also made changes to a plethora of election laws over the last several years. Voter registration drives are especially helpful to those who have the hardest time navigating new voting requirements. While voter registration drives are especially needed in some communities, they actually benefit everyone. Our democracy is strongest when all eligible citizens participate, and to do so, they need to be registered to vote. Please oppose any further efforts to undermine voter registration efforts. Second, vote by mail. Now that we are past the 2022 general election and heading straight towards 2024, all voters who had a vote by mail request on file must request a new one. Voters will now have to request their mail ballots each general election cycle moving forward based on state law in 2021 SB 90. As of September 21st, 2023, we'll lose the century here, there are 8,786 persons registered to vote by mail in Manatee County. In the 2022 election, there were 110,268. There is a huge discrepancy and decline in the number of people who are registered to vote by mail. We ask that funds be allocated to the Division of Elections and local elections officials with requirements that they use every means at their disposal to educate voters about these changes in the vote by mail requirements. And I do thank you for your attention.
Thanks for being here. Any questions? Oh, perfect timing. Thank you so much. Sarah, thank you as well for pinch hitting on both of those. Next up, Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense, Ginger McCollum. Hey, welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's nice to see you all again. As you know, my name is Ginger McCallum, and I'm a volunteer with Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. As you also may know, guns are the leading cause of death for children and teens in America. These tragedies are preventable, and we have a responsibility to act to protect our kids. I'm going to share some of the things that you'll hear about from our volunteers across the state, you and your peers will hear about across the state for the 2024 legislative session. First, we ask that you oppose HB 17, recently filed by Representative Redmond, that seeks to repeal a portion of the Parkland gun safety bill. Following Parkland, Florida laws were improved to require background checks, be completed before a gun sale can proceed. Senator Redmond's bill will roll back that change and require that sales proceed within 3 days, even in the small minority of cases when law enforcement needs more time to complete the background check. HB 17 would reopen that dangerous Charleston loophole here in Florida that Senator Passidomo and Representative Rommel helped close after Parkland. We ask that you will act to protect that current legislation. Secondly, there is broad bipartisan agreement that safe firearms storage laws are one of the most effective methods to reduce unintentional death and injury by children and teens. You may not know that 5.4 million American children currently live in a household with at least one locked, loaded, and unsecured firearm. 350 children unintentionally shoot themselves or someone else every year in the US, and 90% of those shootings occur at home. We encourage you to pass stronger legislation to require responsible gun owners to properly store their firearms. And finally, we are advocating for funding for community violence intervention programs. These are community-based organizations that work to interrupt the cycle of violence or address its root causes. We have amazing grassroots organizations like Also Youth, Queens of Domestic Violence Awareness, Minnesota Reentry Project, and many more that need our support to continue their work in reducing gun violence in our communities. While the rate of gun deaths has increased 15% in Florida over the past 10 years, the governor vetoed $5 million in state funds this year and refused $15 million in federal funds to prevent gun violence. We are deeply disappointed that Florida is one of only 4 states that made this deadly mistake to reject the federal funding. We encourage you to correct it and protect public safety with both state and federal funds. And finally, this week is National Suicide Prevention Week. 60% of the 120 deaths per day by gun violence are suicide deaths, which disproportionately affects our veterans, as you heard earlier. We invite everybody to join us on Sunday at the Out of Darkness Walk at Benderson. It starts at 9 a.m. and it's sponsored by the American Federation for Suicide Prevention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. McCollum, for being here. Any questions? Thank you. Thank you. And last on the formal agenda, we have Citizens for Renewing America, Michelle Martin. Welcome. Good morning.
You're going to think I collaborated with Kevin, but I
Never.
We didn't even talk. And what does encourage me, though, is that people who love liberty are going to sound the same.
Kevin's reach is very far.
He's awesome. Okay, my name is Michelle Martin. I work with Citizens for Renewing America, and I'm here today to ask you to renew your commitment to the principles of liberty, specifically to the principle of individual rights. There's an old story of a representative from the state of Tennessee who voiced his objection to the way that money was being appropriated. I paraphrase. He says, "I respect the work of the organization, and I sympathize for those who are being helped. But every member of Congress knows we have no power to appropriate the money as an act of charity. We as individuals can give as much money as we please, but we have no right to appropriate as much as one public dollar. All morning you've heard requests for charity. In order to say yes, you have to take money, the labor, from an individual, reducing the ability of that person to pay their own mortgage, their own rent, their own electric, their own water. You make life more difficult for that person because you're appropriating funds to people, projects, and organizations that are entirely outside the scope and authority of government." So as you go back to Tallahassee, I want you to ask yourself, on what authority do you act upon me by taking my labor and forcing me to work for somebody else? From each according to their ability, to each according to their need. That's not a principle of liberty. That's the philosophy of Karl Marx. I have many examples of the egregious way that the state pillages the individual and chooses winners and losers based on your emotions, your donors' interests, pressure from the speaker, the chair, and even the governor. But I'll highlight one that captures not only the Marxist theft that is happening, that you guys each agreed to, but also it advances a new kind of world, a world where individual rights cannot exist with the power of the state. I'm talking about the Live Local Act. In this bill, you take $711 million from individuals and you give it to nonprofits. And then you sell it to us as a private-public partnership. On what authority do you obligate me to a partnership that doesn't benefit me? You're exploiting my labor and the labor of millions of Floridians. The bill also removes the sovereignty of the county and favors developers. As you head to Tallahassee, I ask that you have a come to Jesus meeting with yourself. Every time you vote, you choose a winner and a loser, and it seems the loser is always the individual. It's become an auction in Tallahassee where you're bartering the labor of one person and you're giving it to somebody else. This is not good governance. It's not representative government. I'm asking you to renew your commitment to the right of the individual. Stop growing the state. Compulsive charity is theft, and it's the antithesis of the principle of liberty.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Appreciate you being here. Okay, that concludes the ones that are scheduled to speak. Now we're going to move into public comment. The first one I had was Mr. Glenn Chablina. Haven't seen him come in.
He hasn't.
Did I miss him?
He hasn't checked in.
Okay, so if he comes, we will add him to the list. Next is Christina Gherkin of Align Consulting. Welcome, and you're the Growing Oaks Initiative. Good to see you again.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair and members of delegates. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm here to represent the Growing Oaks Initiative. The Growing Oaks Initiative is initiative to develop, initiate, and grow solutions for individuals, families, and entities engaged with foster youth, expanding collaborative efforts to close the gaps from policy to practice throughout our community. And the initiative is comprised of key leaders that are circuit court judges, city mayor, state child welfare coordinator, law enforcement, local law enforcement, school districts, and directors of local nonprofits. And so as we looked at these innovative solutions, we also looked at significant data and research to look at what the gaps were and focused on prevention. Because if we do not intervene early before they're in foster care, you know, they go into foster care and then there's recidivism. And one of the programs that I'm sure most of you are aware of that is great is the CAT teams. The area CAT teams are representative of 9 professionals that provide wraparound care for mental health and behavioral health for children and youth in crisis. And so as we began to look at the CAT teams, our counties do a great job of providing that service, but we found a gap within those with families and children that are on the wait list. So they're waiting for 2 or 3 weeks while in crisis before they can even be screened and provided those wraparound services. So what can we do? Our ask is the Family Navigator Project and to help fund that. And with that, it provides support for the now large number of families and children in crisis who are waiting for guidance and support and preventing them essentially from more time of going into the child welfare system. And so if you look at, it keeps families intact, but it also is a potential significant savings. When a child goes into the child welfare system, it averages about $175 a day. That's over $5,000 a month. And in general, in foster care, when they're acute and they have needs, it costs the state over $57,000. That's one child. From January to June, our counties serviced 232 children in CAT teams. So if you take 50 of those children and potentially those that were waiting for services or didn't get connected to CAT teams in time, that cost the state almost $4 million. And so this Family Navigator project is set up to ultimately provide keeping families intact, supporting the CAT teams, supporting the school districts, but also supporting our state and the funding that comes to it.
Thank you, Ms. Kirkin.
Thank
Appreciate you being here. Next up, we have Meredith Morrow from Parental Rights, Moms for America. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thanks for having us. I am Meredith with Moms for America, and I have handouts for all of you.
If you'll get those to Amanda when you finish,
Okay.
she'll get them to us.
All right, great. We are here asking for your support. We have 5 bills that we're looking to have sponsored and passed this session. We're asking for protection for our children, families, and their personal and medical freedoms. Some of our bills that we're asking is medical freedom reform. We know we got a little bit of it last year, but we're asking for tweaking of that. Education, and we have, that's to seek to revamp the existing scholarship funding organizations in Florida. And a grooming bill, we're asking for defining grooming in the state of Florida. FCC standards bill, it would apply to the FCC content guidelines for classroom materials. And parental rights in medicine. Right now, we found in our research that children as young as 12 can go and have certain medical services done without the permission of their parents. And we're asking for that to be looked at and changed so that parents can actually take care of their own children. Okay, and I give this to you.
Yeah, thank you so
Okay.
much, and thanks for being here, Ms. Morrow.
Sure, thank you.
Next up, we have Tony Latortu, is that right? The Guardian Ad Litem Program, which is a wonderful organization. Thank you.
Good morning, senators and representatives.
And we just want to thank you for your support of the statewide Guardian Ad Litem office, and we look forward to your continued support. And the guardians assigned by the statewide Guardian Ad Litem office represent the legal interests of abused and neglected children in court in the community. And here in Manatee County, that makes about 755 children that we represent. Every child appointed to the statewide Guardian Ad Litem office is assigned a Guardian Ad Litem attorney, child welfare professional, and hopefully a volunteer or pro bono attorney from the child's community if one is available. This representation model is national best practice. And currently in Manatee County, we have about 178 community volunteers. This past year, the office partnered with the legal community to develop and implement a Guardian Ad Litem attorney training program. This training helps meet the office's goal of producing highly qualified Guardian Ad Litem attorneys. Our legal representation protects and advances the legal rights of children whose age and other limitations prevent them from making their own decisions. The Florida Guardian Ad Litem office considers a child's physical safety, emotional well-being, and permanent placement in a stable, nurturing home environment where the child can thrive. We provide zealous, independent representation, and our office is the only one on a child's case who provides undivided loyalty to the child. The Florida Statewide Guardian Ad Litem office appeared in 594 dependency appeals, and of the decisions rendered in 2022, the Statewide Guardian Ad Litem office won 98% of those appeals. This is an indicator of the high-quality, independent legal representation the state provides our most vulnerable children in Florida, the abused and neglected. On May 31st, 2023, the Children's Bureau verified that the statewide Guardian Ad Litem office portion of Florida's cost allocation plan for Title IV-E funding was approved. However, Florida's overall cost allocation plan is still unapproved. Once Florida's CAP is approved, this funding will allow the statewide Guardian Ad Litem office to represent every abused, neglected, and abandoned child in Florida's child welfare proceedings for the first time in Florida's history. In 2022, the office represented more than 36,000 children. As of today, more than 1,600 of Florida's most vulnerable children will not receive representation until Florida's overall CAP is approved by the federal government. Recently, the number of children represented in Florida has increased significantly. The Guardian Ad Litem office currently provides representation to more than 91% of children in dependency proceedings. In 2022, the statewide Guardian Ad Litem office was a Florida Tax Watch Award winner for this tremendous lift that impacted many children in foster care while saving tax dollars. We thank you for your dedication to Florida's dependent children.
Thank you. Any questions? Again, thank you for what you all do. It's really incredible work. Thank you.
And if you know anybody who wants to volunteer with us, send them our way.
All right, thank you. Noted, audience. They're looking for volunteers. Next up, Jennifer Blasdell, I think, with Justice Transitions. Good morning, welcome.
I also have some handouts here for you that I'll leave afterward.
Thank you.
Good morning, senators and representatives. I'm Jennifer Blaisdell, a retired educator, and I also am the outreach director for Justice Transitions, helping people transition back from prison. I'm here to speak with you regarding basic human needs and some opportunities for you to help those who are struggling to meet those needs every day. I will provide you with a packet of information to highlight the importance of needs being met. You will see a visual of Maslow's hierarchy on the cover, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. Today I'm focusing on 3 communities in Florida that truly need our help in meeting their physiological needs shown at the base of that pyramid. I believe you can provide solutions for these people through your work in Tallahassee this year. The first example of a community not having their needs for food met is our children. and you've heard this here today. I'm asking state legislators to work on providing a free nutrition program statewide in our K through 12 schools. At the end of last school year, at the middle school I recently retired from, we had more than $1,200 in past due lunch accounts. After reaching out to my local legislators about them, one of your colleagues personally paid them at our school. As you consider bills this fall, remember the Snickers advertisement. You're not hungry. You're not you when you're hungry. Also imagine a 13-year-old child only getting a PB&J for lunch and an account due slip to take home. Please work to provide a free food and nutrition program in our Florida schools this year. I was glad to see that Sarasota County School Board has put forth free breakfast this year. I'm not sure if Manatee's done the same. Another community not having their needs met is our prison population. Last session, 2 bills were introduced to create a Citizens Collaborative Council. It did not make it past committee last year, and I would appreciate it if each of you would consider sponsoring the revised draft bill included in the packet. Our prisoners need help with basic living conditions and proper nutrition, and the Collaborative Council is an ideal way to work in concert with the DOC to take care of things that can easily be resolved. Please support the Citizens Collaborative Council, and let's make a positive change in our state prisons today. Finally, I want to address the homeless communities. Being homeless makes it almost impossible to meet our basic needs. One area that can quickly reduce homelessness is to amend Statute 775-215, which is your third attachment. Because the entire state is widely affected by homeless communities, I believe you and your colleagues can have a positive impact on reducing homelessness by not allowing municipalities to increase residency restrictions or proximity restrictions. In other words, the entire state follows the statute 775.215 and other related statutes with residency and proximity restrictions. Please consider a workshop or legislation that will help resolve this issue. I'd love to speak with any of you regarding that if you're interested. My information is located on my packet, and I will look forward to speaking with you and your aides in Tallahassee this coming session 2024. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Blaisdell. We look
Yes.
forward to seeing you as well. Any questions? All right, thank you so much. Next, Mr. Keith Green. Morning.
Morning, representatives, senators. Thank you for representing us up there in Tallahassee. First, I want to say, as someone who's a regular driver that goes across the Fort Hamer Bridge, thank you guys. Hopefully, I want to sit through 30 more minutes of traffic in the foreseeable future. As far as folks are saying about growth, I just have one thing to say about that. What comes with growth is that the county is thriving new businesses, an economy that is a contribution to the local economy. On another subject I'd like to touch on with one of the recent presenters who, from the Alzheimer's organization that spoke. I just want to say firsthand that I had a parent who suffered from 14 years of Alzheimer's. My late mother, great woman, raised me all on her own, both myself and my 2 older sisters. And I hope that this upcoming session that you guys will consider, getting more funding for Alzheimer's, as it's something that affects me personally, watching my late mother just wither away and die in a hospital. To this day, nearly 10 years after her passing, it still hits me. But again, I would also like to say thank you. Excuse me. Thank you for all that you do for us and how you represent us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green. That's very kind of you. I think it's Amaro Lionheart. Did I get that right? Yes, sir. Welcome.
Thank you. I wasn't going to speak today. I just came to observe. But I want to thank each and every one of you for the great service you do in Tallahassee. And I want to correct a couple of things that were said. by a couple groups. Actually, the #1 death for children in our country is incidental deaths. Most of them having to do with drug overdose. So that's up about 186%. Another thing is our Second Amendment is sacred. It's right there in our Constitution. And full transparency, I am running for Congress, and we are going to push for a constitutional Florida-style carry on a federal level. So our Constitution is sacred, and a lot of these incidental deaths are being grouped in with drug overdoses and other accidental deaths, and those numbers are being inflated by groups misrepresenting our Second Amendment. And again, thank you so much for each and every one of you for the service that you do, and I appreciate everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for those nice comments, and thank you for being here. And the last card I have is Mr. Bill Titsworth on the Convention of States. If there's anybody else that wanted to speak, get a card to Amanda pretty quick, because otherwise this will be the final presentation. Yes, sir. Welcome.
All right, legislatures, I'm glad that I'm here to be able to see this today. The Convention of States movement, I'm sure that most of you in here are aware of that movement. And this movement is very important. The intention of the Convention of States is to hold a convention to propose amendments to rein in this runaway federal government that we have in existence today. It's very important that we do this. Right now, the state of Florida is a past state. We have 19 states that are past states. We need to get to a total of 34. It is very important that we hold a convention and propose good, valid amendments to return the power to we the people. Because we the people should have the power, not a bunch of bureaucrats up in Washington, D.C., and especially those that aren't elected. As a retired DOD civilian, this is one of the most important things that we can do for our country, is to come together as the group of states and actually hold a convention, propose valid amendments to return this power to we the people. And thank you.
Thank you very much for being here, and thank you for your comments. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Anybody else that would like to speak that didn't have an opportunity? Do what now? You were up. Yeah, well, no, we're okay. Make it. We don't usually give anybody a second bite at the apple.
Oh, okay.
But if you can do it within a minute.
I can.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, I am here for election security bill. Last year, we got another, good one for the supervisors of elections, but we know that there's still some areas that need to be taken care of. And one is that only citizens of the United States and Florida be eligible to vote. And there's ways that we can do that. We do not want to make any vulnerable voters and communities, a felon. So we want to make sure that we get the people who are eligible to vote to be able to vote. We also have a list of 6 can't say no to election security topics, and of course then a longer one, you know us. So anyway, we want to present these, and we're going to be coming up and door knocking with you, and we look forward to speaking to you and answering any questions about what we've come up with and what we'd like to propose and have you support. Okay?
Look forward to seeing you in Tallahassee.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Okay, that being the conclusion of our agenda and public comments, ask my colleagues if there's any member comments they'd like to have, starting with Senator Gruters. You're good? Representative Robinson? Representative Gregory? Wow, that was easy. Well, I would just like to finally say thank you again, the City of Bradenton, for hosting us. This is a great venue. We certainly appreciate it and appreciate you making it so comfortable for us. Also like to thank METV for filming this today, so those that weren't able to make it today can certainly watch it on METV. So thank you all, and thank Charles as well for always being here. And then finally, and maybe my colleagues would want to do it too, but I want to tell you, those that are left and those that perhaps are watching on TV, we are here to serve you. Our staffs are here to serve you as well. You know Amanda Romont, she's been here today helping us. Kathy Galia is my legislative aide who actually had to go to Tallahassee today to kind of get us ready for next week. So call our office, talk to them, talk to me, but we are elected to serve you and we want to be responsive to you. So if you have any questions, concerns, or ideas, please call our office and talk to one of my staff members, and we can certainly take what you said under consideration. Anybody else want to introduce their team or not? Boy, okay. Well, sorry about Hunter, Vicky, Alana. You're great team members of these colleagues.
You are all great, and thank you, Chair, for a great meeting, great 2 years, and to your team for getting us organized and ready for this meeting.
Thank you,
So
and
thank
welcome
you.
for next year. Okay, there being no further business, we will call this meeting adjourned.